I don't know why Joe Biden did this interview on 60 Minutes, but he must have thought it was a good idea and they were talking real slow. Everybody thinks the interview was for 70-year-olds. And I mean, no disrespect to older people, but it was a 60 Minutes interview. It was on TV and they did talk very slow. In it, Joe Biden, wow, there's a variety of just crazy stories. One, when asked if his brain worked, he garbled incoherently. And he said something like, I don't think about how old I am, then fly. And it's like, I don't know what you're trying to say, dude. If you're trying to explain that your brain works, you're not doing it very well. He said that the U.S. would intervene with the military to defend Taiwan, which the White House then, for the fourth time, I believe, walked back those claims. Like, I don't even know who sets policy at the White House anymore because the White House and Biden clearly disagree. After 4 times, you'd think that would be the U.S. policy, but apparently it's not. And the big news is that Biden has declared the pandemic's over. Now, of course, many in the media rushed into saying he didn't explicitly say, oh, he says he believes. No, Biden said the pandemic is over. And that's huge because we've already got issues pertaining to, they're saying like, oh, no, the midterms aren't going to be wrapped up in a single day because of mail-in ballots. End them all. Pandemic's over. We don't need that anymore. People should start filing lawsuits saying like it's got to go back to the constitutional system. Joe Biden said it twice. The pandemic was over. He explicitly stated everybody in the armed forces should be able to, should no longer be required to get the vaccine. Vaccine mandates should all be done. Vaccine passports. Biden said it. Pandemic's over. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to accept it because they need it. So that's where we're going. But my friends, we'll talk about all that. Before we get started, head over to, let me actually put this in here, strongerbonesandlife.com and pick up your ageless multi-collagen from BioTrust and you'll get 51% off. This is great stuff. You need it for your joints, your hair, your skin, your nails. And I was just skating earlier today. My knee has actually been hurting, so I needed to up my dosage of the ageless multi-collagen. Head over to strongerbonesandlife.com. You'll get a 60-day money-back guarantee and the healthy aging support of collagen in its ideal forms. You really do want to make sure you're getting this stuff because I can really tell when I'm skimping on it and then like it just starts to hurt. You'll get the 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides, meaning better and faster digestibility to support maximum benefits. For every order today, BioTrust will donate a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through their partnership with NoKidHungry.org. To date, BioTrust has provided over 5 million meals to hungry kids. Please help them hit their goal of 6 million meals this year. Their collagen is non-GMO and free of artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, and sweeteners. It's free of gluten, antibiotics, and RBGH and RBST. Nearly no odor or taste. Unlike bone broth, there's no clumping. You'll get free shipping with every order, free VIP live health and fitness coaching from BioTrust team of expert nutrition health coaches for life with every order, and their free e-report, the 14 foods for amazing skin with every order. My friends, you got to support companies that support us, and BioTrust, as you know, they sponsor the show every month, more than once, and just make sure you're giving your money to people who like you and want your business. So check out strongerbonesandlife.com, but don't forget to also go to Timcast.com, become a member. Support our work directly. We're going to have a members-only, uncensored show coming up tonight at about 11 p.m. as we do Monday through Thursday. But as a member, you will also get access to the Cast Castle show as well as Tales from the Inverted World. And we've got more shows coming, more members-only content. The plan is to rapidly expand, but we can only expand as quickly as we bring on new members to watch the new content. So it's a process. It is what it is. It is what it is. So become a member, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us today to talk about all of the news and more is Daniel Turner.
It's great to be back. Daniel Turner, Power of the Future. Hi, everyone. I was at a conference this weekend, and honestly, about 9 people stopped me and were like, I've seen you on Timcast. I watch all the time. Nice. So it's always great to see how big your audience is and to see that people think I'm part of it. So thanks for having me here. And
You're part of the show.
I know. And really I have to, if your knee hurts, my knee's killing me. Do you mix it with water?
Well, yeah, you put in whatever. I like putting it in smoothies. It's great.
I'm totally going
to
buy
It adds like a kind
of
of creaminess to it.
I'm buying it. Love it. So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We also got the T-shirt salesman who lives in the parking lot.
The humble T-shirt salesman. And even though Joe Biden declared that the pandemic is over, there still is a very dangerous media virus out there. And you could do your part to fight it right now with ideas that cannot be censored on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, which of course is represented by the shirt I'm wearing right now, declaring that the media is the virus. And I think when you look at the effect that they have on everyone, I think there's a solid argument there. Ian, how are you doing? Are you working out with me tomorrow?
Friday I am. Tomorrow you're doing kickboxing. Yes. I may join you. I'm definitely going to join you and eyeball this thing. Dude, I love your shirt, Lou.
Thank you.
The media is a virus because a virus is just basically like a mechanism to transmit something. it's you can have viruses that don't hurt you, and you can have viruses that damage you, and the media also is a neutral, injection.
No. The corporate media is a very dangerous, very bad virus that destroys the integrity of humanity.
Timcast is a corporation. We can't debate this early in the show.
We can. We can do it.
Hey,
It's
what
okay.
conference were you at, Daniel?
It was a Texas Youth Conference, and so it was a gathering of aimed towards young people. Yeah, like high school, college age. Definitely center right in nature, not partisan, but political. And I talked about energy and climate change and energy issues. And I was excited to go because the 15-year-olds, the 17-year-olds are the one who've been told their entire life they're going to die from climate change.
Yeah, you're putting me at ease about fracking a little bit. So it's nice to hear that it's not necessarily the end of the world
It is
like
not.
I was told it was. Hey, Lydia, what's happening?
I am getting my cast off tomorrow. I've never been more excited. Delighted to have you back, Daniel.
Thank
Let's
you.
get into tonight's topic.
I love that your cast is black in honor of Her Majesty. I'm wearing black because
Oh,
she was
yeah.
interred today.
Morning.
Tim,
Yes,
of course,
of
is.
course.
Morning.
Yes.
You don't want to know my
normally-
opinion
I
on this
normally don't
issue.
wear this. Normally
No,
I'm
I know.
wearing a fine
Normally
yellow
in,
suit,
in pastels.
a tan suit,
A crown.
Yep.
All right, let's read this story from CNN. Biden's comments about pandemic widen public health split over how U.S. should respond to COVID-19. I love this. They say even as the U.S. prepares for a potential winter surge of COVID-19, President Biden roamed the cavernous halls of the Detroit Auto Show for an interview on CBS's 60 Minutes and gesturing to the mostly maskless attendees told the nation, the pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it, he told Scott Pelley, but the pandemic is over, he repeated. Let's give a round of applause to everybody.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yay, we survived.
Everybody can go home or leave your home
Yeah.
because the pandemic's over. It's just so crazy to me to hear this. And then, I go out and I still see people wearing masks in places that don't require them.
Yeah.
They must not know that the pandemic's over yet.
Maybe they needed this. Maybe now Joe Biden's sweet whispers will assuage their fears.
It will. A lot of people wait, unfortunately, for better or for worse, they wait for the official word, and this is the most official word you're going to get. Anything Biden says is the top official in the United States.
Well, I wouldn't worry about what the top official says. Since last year, they were saying that there was going to be a severe winter of illness and death, and they were absolutely wrong about it. I was on this show last year, and I said, COVID's over. It's done with. There's no way it could return. I was looking at the data. I was looking at the graphs, and that absolutely happened. All the restrictions, and when I mean COVID, and when I mean this kind of health mandates and these emergency issues, all of that made absolutely no sense, and we have slowly seen them dwindle because everything that they promised that was going to happen with this virus last winter never happened. And this thing was very interesting because there wasn't a speech, there wasn't an official declaration, there wasn't a parade, there wasn't even a banner. It was Joe Biden walking through a car show, nonchalantly talking to a TV show that aired his comments 5 days later saying COVID's over, which is absolutely crazy.
The one thing that the article gets right is that it said it will be a seasonal, the winter is coming, and it is seasonal. The flu has a season. Lice cases go up in September because all the kids are back in school. So when they're like, well, we're headed towards a season of COVID, it's like, yeah, we're also headed towards a season of colds and a season of flu. A lot of our illnesses are seasonal.
Let me read this quote. Quote, in a week, that's Twin Towers, right? It's a 9/11 week after week after week, said Greg Gonzalez, an epidemiologist at the Yale School of Public Health. I just want to point out that people die from like congenital heart failure and from peanut allergies and other things. And it seems like the COVIDian, that's the word, right? It's like a cult almost. These people are like hyper focused on one thing. It's like, bro, look at flu deaths, right?
Yeah.
I think they're about probably half or so. But if you're really saying it's a 9/11 every week, okay, look at car accidents. Like how many car accidents are there every week? Someone want to look it up?
Yeah.
My point is, you're only talking about one thing. Are we really going to shut down the world because there's a thing that causes people to die? That's
107,000 people overdosed on fentanyl last year, and divided by 52 weeks, that's 2,057 per week. So, that's another thing that is a Twin Towers every week.
how many car accidents per year?
I've got 38,800 per year. So what is that?
38,000
How many
divided by
fentanyl was there?
52. 107,000 died of just fentanyl.
So we're looking at 746 deaths a week in 2019 from car accidents in the United States.
What about like heart failure?
That's
I think that's the
number
leading
one.
cause
Yeah.
of death.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
heart disease.
Heart disease, huh?
Heart disease.
So we got to shut it all down. We got to
Well,
shut
we
it all
did.
down. And no, we got to do it again because
And
people
you-
have heart disease.
And to shut down the world for heart disease means shut down the gym. right? Shut down all the gyms,
Lock
the
them in
parks,
their rooms.
make them order Uber Eats.
No, I get it. It's contagious. What's
per day. So it looks like COVID is about 7 times as many deaths as there were car accident deaths.
Yeah. But what about heart failure?
Heart disease, I'm still looking for that.
What about
number.
obesity? How many people die every year from obesity?
I think that's not ever really the cause. It's that'll bring on something else that will kill you.
Yeah.
And it tends to be a comorbidity.
Cancer deaths per year.
300,000 people die every year due to obesity.
Whoa.
Wow.
And it's an epidemic. They say
really
obesity
is.
epidemic.
Yeah.
So that's like 6,000 a day.
600,000 die of cancer every year in America.
Whoa.
I got to say, we had Drew Pinsky on the show last Friday, and he's a doctor, Dr. Drew, and was talking about Paxlovid and how people are having not breakthrough cases, but rebound cases, which I don't know exactly what a COVID rebound case is. Are you guys?
It's when you test negative and then you test
listen.
positive again.
So I think what's
obesity.
happening-
I'm sorry.
is that COVID is still here. Like, I can feel it. I can feel my back in the same place where I got really sick before. I can see that I can still sense it, but I have an immunity built up now to it. So it's going to be here like the flu virus.
Obesity is 2 9/11s per week. Apparently now we are going to be measuring deaths in 9/11s because that's what, and I know it's kind of silly, but they've been doing that since the beginning of COVID. Like when COVID deaths were really high, they were like 9/11 every day. And it's like, is this a unit of measurement? I think Bill Maher made a joke about it.
Yeah.
Like, are we using it as a unit of
How many
measurement
Reichstags?
Well,
burned for
it's because you can point to the 9/11 people and see who supported them, who sympathizes with them. And if you don't believe in COVID, and if you don't believe in vaccines, and if you don't believe in masking, so you support the terrorists.
Yeah.
And in 9/11, and for those of us who remember when all of it happened, were you even born when 9/11 happened? When 9/11 happened, if you were like, well, I think this is ridiculous, it was like, oh, so you want the terrorists to win, huh? It's like, no, I don't want the terrorists to win. I just don't think this is the right approach.
Well, the CNN had a ticker on their show. The producers were celebrating and happy that the numbers were going up because the more death, the more fear, the more viewers that they had.
Yeah.
And this was released by Project Veritas on how essentially they loved that ticker. They loved those numbers. They loved celebrating death. And they loved the trauma because essentially what we're dealing with when we're dealing with corporate media is a lot of trauma-based mind control.
Yeah.
And this is, again, a lot of sensationalism, a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of severe winter illness of death. None of that happened. They were absolutely wrong. This statement is very convenient right before the midterms, and I think that has a lot more to do with it than actual science that was, again, bastardized from the very beginning.
Remember,
of this.
a lot of people pointed out, including this show, right after Biden was inaugurated, how the CNN ticker death thing disappeared from their screen. Right, that was in the bottom chyron for a year, and like a week after Biden got in, I was like, yeah, we don't need to put that number anymore. Even though more people died under Biden, which is a silly statistic, right? But it is a true one. More people died under Biden with COVID than under Trump. But they were like, we don't need to talk about statistics anymore.
That's important. You said with COVID, and we're going to have to continuously remind people that there's a difference between dying with COVID and dying from COVID. Because if you get into a car accident and you had COVID in your system, you might die with COVID from a car accident, but they'll still clock you as a COVID death because you had COVID in your system, as opposed to COVID making you cough up blood.
Have no head. And they're like, what did he die of? Well, he died of COVID. It's like, he doesn't have a head.
They would say he died with COVID.
Yeah.
And you'd be like,
he's a COVID death.
What was the cause?
Which is very, very, that's malicious in my opinion to say to make
the
people
driver
think it was COVID
decapitated, but he did have COVID.
But he did have COVID.
What about the passenger? The passenger was bifurcated, right down the middle. But he had COVID.
So there were 2 COVID deaths because each half had COVID.
we found 2 incomplete bodies.
And the head was not wearing a mask.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I know.
Which proves it.
I feel like I'm dazed from this last 3 years. I'm just still in shock and awe, man.
This is like
2 years,
our
is that 2
eulogy for the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because these COVIDian people, they don't want to give it up. They love being the Karens wearing the masks, screaming at people.
They do.
Shrieking, but it's done. It's been done for a while, but this is it. Joe Biden came out and said it. That's what we need now.
Do you find
there's still people who are facing mandates, lockdowns, things like that, restrictions. It's time to start filing lawsuits.
Do you
Absolutely,
find folks
absolutely. There's still teachers being fired today. Today, 850 unvaccinated teachers and paras were fired from the New York City education system. There's still an FDA emergency authorization for a booster that was just tested on 8 mice. There's still people losing their jobs within the military because they didn't comply with these mandates, which are absolutely nonsensical. So people are still being fired by this. Why, when the president says it's over?
Ian, you mentioned that people don't die of obesity, they die from something because of obesity. That's called a comorbidity, and people are pointing out that's literally how they define COVID deaths.
Yep.
As like people who get sick and then they die from comorbidities. Like, what is it? Like 90 some odd % of people had some kind of comorbidity. And obesity was a large component of
Huge.
that. So here's the important factor is that obesity deaths and COVID deaths, I imagine, have a large overlap.
Yeah, and age also, and then they started hiding that data. How many people were over the age of 75? And it's tragic, right? We don't want our old people to die. People forget the original reason why the vaccines were rushed is because it was supposed to save old people. And then for some reason it went to, let's get all the seniors vaccinated, to now you have to get your 15-year-old kid vaccinated. It was like, what? I thought this was for old people. And the old people, if you look at it, didn't have bad reactions as much to the vaccine because it was made for old people. But for some reason, it disappeared. Like that thinking of, I remember when my parents were happy because they were the ones at risk.
Dude, the idea of vaccinating you to keep Luke healthy is insane.
Absolutely.
If it's like we live in the Middle Ages and we're all like got bacteria eating our skin alive, then maybe we would consider that.
I do want to point out, I think people need to understand the full context of what happened at the start of the pandemic. After a while, we started seeing different strains. You know, we get to like Omicron or whatever, and it's getting weaker and it's weaker. It's like, people need to understand the alpha strain was really scary. The scar tissue and damage in people's lungs. We had Dr. Drew on, he mentioned the spike protein was causing microvascular damage, and then it was inhibiting nutrients and, oxygen and stuff to get into parts of the body. In the early days of COVID, you could see the scans of people's lungs. It was really, really bad. That's kind of, I don't know. I think we got Omicron. Is that what we got when we got sick?
I think it was
Delta.
I think it was
Delta.
Delta, but there was also
there.
a lot of malpractice inside of the hospitals that were doing things that they later found out was absolutely wrong, especially when it came to drugging a lot of the patients and then giving them particular medicines that gave them organ failure.
Are you talking about malpractice or are you saying error?
You could. I don't know how you want to,
I guess,
categorize it, but there was a lot of mistakes made early on in the hospitals.
Right, that's what I mean to say. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, there's a difference between a doctor screwing up and us being like, this is the best thing we could think of.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like, I think policy-wise, it was a total and abject failure.
Yeah, but
Fauci should have been fired immediately.
Absolutely.
That's Trump's fault.
But any criticism was automatically censored. Anyone speaking up was automatically shut down, and there was practices that were done that people saw as a mistake, especially when it came to the ventilators. People were saying, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we shouldn't be, knocking patients out and giving them drugs that give them organ failure, so their bodies can't fight it off. Maybe we shouldn't be incubating them." And that was a big argument that should have happened publicly, but it didn't. And the policies continued on to the detriment of a lot of early patients.
And
Well, let's talk about the big change and the big funny news. We got the story from Business Insider. Moderna, BioNTech, and Novavax plunge after Biden says the COVID-19 pandemic is over.
Oh, no.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Where are those put options at? Who was waiting for this moment?
Wow.
All
Well,
the
the
Congress
reason-
members.
I was going to say, Paul Pelosi, the reason why they waited 5 days to air it is because they had a call all there like, hey, everyone.
Oh, my God.
Probably.
Hey, Dan Crenshaw, sell your stocks. Hey,
absolutely.
Nancy Pelosi. I mean, yeah.
Because the New
those
York-
folks knew this was
That was a
happening.
The New York
Heavily
Times, but
curated.
this is an important story. The New York Times did actually a good job. They investigated the investments of Congress members, and they reported out of 3,700 trades, they made over $100 million, with many of them being almost perfectly timed. So the New York Times actually did a good job, investigated and showed the insider trading that is absolutely too good to be true for a lot of these representatives of Congress that got rich off of these stocks.
So this aired September 18th, and it was filmed when he went there, which was on Tuesday. So we need to investigate who sold stocks between September 13th and September 18th, especially these three or any of the pharmaceutical companies. And it would be fascinating to then have a legit investigation to say, Congressman Crenshaw, how did you know to sell all of your Moderna on Friday before the markets closed?
We don't know. He actually did anything.
Or just using a name. Congressman Turner. I'll call myself. Oh, there is a Congressman Turner. Congressman
Ocasio-Cortez. How did you know to buy all of that bacon?
How did you know? That would be a fascinating study because someone made money.
I'm willing to bet you'll find a lot of people. So what I would imagine would have happened is that CBS probably did something. They mentioned in the interview, they contacted the White House for comment. You remember that, right?
Yep.
When Biden mentioned that we would intervene for Taiwan, and we'll get to that in a bit, they said in the video they released, after Biden gave this response, we reached out to the White House, who said the policy does not change, despite the commander-in-chief saying it did, which means they did the interview. They then called politicians for comments, edited the interview, then put it up. How much you want to bet? After he said the pandemic was over, they called All it takes is one member of Congress. They call Pelosi, like, what do you think about this as the speaker? And she went, oh, is that what he said? I'll call you back.
Yeah.
And then she's like, honey, you need to sell all of the stocks before the interview comes out. And then Paul does it, and then everyone watching the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker sees it. And
Yeah, it's down
I don't know.
10% from the 16th to the 8th to the 19th. It's down 10%.
The NVIDIA?
Moderna.
Okay.
Since they
NVIDIA?
announced...
Well, that's the one that
that's a
Pelosi.
graphics card.
That was the company
That's
with the Pelosi
Yeah,
insider
yeah.
trading one. Yes, that one also, when they sold it off, was also at a very good time because the stock went down. There was another piece of news that came out against NVIDIA, which you were describing before, which I thought Ian was talking about.
Yeah, that he sold. Surprisingly, he knew to sell right before this.
Exactly.
this
People were
news
saying
was
he only
released.
sold because he wanted to be ethical and wanted to come clean, but he actually sold on a good time, which actually gave him even more money.
But
Yeah.
what you guys understand too is we often talk about how it's insider trading because they know when to sell, right? How often do they propose the bills themselves to shift the market? Like you could have, a new computer chip and then they're like, this new computer chip is going to be bad for my stock. Let's put a bill forward that will stop it and give some BS reasons.
Yeah.
Or how often it's like, hey, I just bought a whole bunch of Ben & Jerry's stock, or I guess, what is it, Unilever. And I want it to go up. So we're going to do the ice cream tax break stock.
That would be
intentionally pushing a bill forward to make their stocks go up.
That's
Absolutely.
like really definitionally fascist.
They probably do it all the
probably
time.
Should be felonious. Yeah, I know, but that's.
But how can you prove it?
Well,
Look
the
at
New York Times actually found out that it was the committee members using their position on the committees in Congress that voted on particular aspects that changed the business landscape that were enriching themselves the most.
Look at the Inflation Reduction Act that we just passed, and $386 billion goes towards the investment in green tech. Did anyone who voted for that in committee and who appropriated that number, do they have stock in any of these green companies? Do they have stock in SharePoint, which makes electric chargers? Do they have stock in GE, which makes a lot of our wind turbines? I mean, it's just, if you're going to spend $386 billion, someone is going to make a lot of money off of that.
And
Didn't they make a bunch of money off the pharmaceutical companies? Like, didn't they?
absolutely.
Sure.
No,
The
I'm pretty
pharmaceutical
sure.
industry created more billionaires than any other industry within the last few years.
But I mean, like, weren't there like a bunch of? It was a big controversy, wasn't it? A bunch of members of Congress had
sold their
like,
stocks right before COVID.
Richard Burr, the senator from North Carolina. That's why he's not
they
running
bought the
again
stock.
right now.
You got to look at Moderna stock. In April of 2020, it was $28. In April of 21, $145. So up
Should've bought some of that
seven
Moderna.
times. And then it was $450 6 months later. So, I mean, that's what is that? A 20 times
This-
increase in like a year and a half.
This makes me angry. You know why? Because I didn't buy it.
told me. Richard Burr from North Carolina.
$28 to turn it to $400.
Richard Burr from North Carolina was the one who was probably hit the hardest on that. I forget who the Democrat was, but he's the Republican. He's not running for re-elect right now. He probably could have and would have sailed but for this. But he was one of the ones that they said you had in a skiff, which secure, compartmentalized, secret room to have these confidential meetings. In a skiff, you had this briefing that same day. You made all these purchases and all these sales. And just like so what's the charge? And he just played innocent. And some people, and people like you, Luke, made a big deal out of it. And then he decided, well, I'm not going to run for re-election next year. But there are a lot of senators who you can point to the timeline and say, you were in this confidential briefing and you either sold in time, because remember, this is February of 2019, February of 2020, the markets were roaring. And it's like, but suddenly the markets are exploding and you sold everything, $5 million worth of stock.
And
Well-
the DOJ drops their investigation into all these people, which is absolutely crazy. And they start investigating Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Look, actually, I think it was
Criminal.
I think it was fairly obvious. The vaccines were gonna just skyrocket in stock value, but you have to be someone who's not only in the know news-wise, you have to have the money, and you have to be knowledgeable in this market space.
Yeah.
So even though we all were tracking the news and knew about the vaccines and stuff, I'm not a day trader. I don't know.
Well, that's why Rand Paul is always beating up Fauci to say, why don't you have to disclose your royalties? And the answer is, Senator, we don't have to disclose that, and I don't have to tell you.
But
and
you
Rand
do have
Paul,
to wear 2 masks.
Yes, and Rand Paul is like, you don't have to disclose to Congress what your royalties are. So, who in the CDC made a lot of money off of this because they knew when they were going to approve a vaccine. If you're Tim Pool vaccine approver and you're like, we're going to give these guys the green light on Friday, maybe do you buy some stock on Thursday?
And when you see it hit its top, these stocks, they rocketed to like 20 times their value in March of 21. And then within 20 days, they just plummeted. So somebody was holding some people and they made 20 times their investment and then just sold out on the market.
And what's great is that
then it dropped and then they bought it back up.
What cracks me up is that the members of Congress who do this then hauled that guy Martin Shkreli, Pharma bro, and they were like, "How dare you? How dare you look at yourself?" And I'm like, he should have been like, "Have you all looked in a mirror? How much did you guys made during the COVID pandemic?"
It's a sham. It's a sham.
Oh, it's absurd. It's criminal. It's God.
They'll tell you
that's
that
probably the whole reason they run for office. I bet a lot of people, they're like, you get in, you get some insider trading, you get out, you're rich for life.
Paul Pelosi and some members of Congress, they're better stock pickers than Warren Buffett.
They are.
Like, why wouldn't you go work on Wall Street? Yeah, go work for an investment house. I mean, you're that good.
And if you have an account on social media that documents all the trades and gives the peasants advice, you get censored. Your accounts get taken down, which has happened to a number of individuals that literally created accounts about the trading of Nancy Pelosi, which has a better track record than all the other big stock guys out there. Better than Warren Buffett. Better than all the top guys that you could even imagine in this field. How is that possible?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Shout out to my homies at Rumble. They just went public today. Tim told me earlier. And full disclosure, I bought Rumble stock. I'm not an investment manager.
They did an acquisition. So it was a SPAC acquisition. CFVI, I think, merged with Rumble, and now they're trading under RUM.
Well, I don't play inside games. I'm just letting everyone know ahead of time. I did buy some of that because I have faith in the future of Rumble.
I bought a bunch.
I don't know if that's necessary to disclose at all.
Hot basket full of Rumble stock.
I think there's nowhere to go but up.
Literally, like right before the show, I was just like, whoosh.
Yeah, I think
it's the future.
Chris Pavlovsky knows what he's got a lot of good ideas, and I'm really excited to see what they do.
I mean,
and locals gaming too.
I'll put it this way. We were in the know when it came to what was going on with the news, and we saw that the vaccines were coming. We knew who was making them, and I don't think anybody here bought any stock in those companies.
No, and I don't think I would have.
Morally, no, hell no.
I bought stock in Palantir. And I didn't know much about it, but my buddy was like, it's about to skyrocket. So I bought it, and then it went up times 10, and I sold it all.
I remember I sold all of my airline stocks when I was doing the TV show Kennedy on Fox the night President Trump announced that he was banning air traffic from Europe. And I remember thinking, I'm going to sell all my airline because I just had a feeling this was going in the wrong direction. And so so I made a great decision, but I probably was 3 days late. I'm sure that a lot of people who were in that confidential meeting, they sold their airline stocks a week before.
This is what I wanted to say about the Moderna stuff is we were in the know on the news, yet we didn't buy any of that stuff. We're in the know on big tech, censorship, and social media. And now Rumble is trading, I think, at like $16. So that's my attitude was like, I think it's I don't know if it spikes to like 400 or anything crazy like that because it's not a mandated vaccine or anything. But I bought a bunch because I think it'll go up.
Yeah, it's a company I believe in. That's why I bought it. Yeah. I don't like, one of the things about finance that I really don't like is that you kind of need to set your morals and ethics aside if you want to make money, and you just know if the war machine's going on that Raytheon is my man for now, and then I'm going to sell it and buy Pfizer, and then I'm out of there. I'm going to buy some oil and gas fracking. I was going to say because I'm programmed to hate the stuff. But
no. Hey, check the stock on like Raytheon or Lockheed when the Ukraine war started. February?
Yeah.
I bet it spiked, right?
I'm sure it did.
But it probably doesn't have as much room to grow because it's already a massive, military industrial company.
When did we go hot in Ukraine?
End of February.
We just hit 6 months.
Exactly right, Tim.
Yeah.
It went from at the end of December, it was $82. Is 102 by March, so up 20%.
What's it at now?
Right now, it's sitting at about 88.
It's come down a little bit.
Come down. But when the war starts, what was that? Raytheon?
Yeah.
Yeah, but are we using? What about Boeing or like Lockheed Martin? What's another? Who's another one? Halliburton.
Northrop Grumman.
Northrop Grumman.
All the military.
I bet they all spiked.
Boeing's actually been up and down and then dropped in May.
Boeing's biggest moneymaker is airlines, airplanes, right? And the airplane industry is just getting crushed.
But they're doing that's probably why. Even if they make drones or whatever.
We also have to understand normal people.
Northrop exploded in March. It went from 369 to 450.
Well,
480.
How many billions have we given them in war and warheads?
Wow, and it's just gone up since then. It's at 485 now.
Wow. Who should we declare war on next, right? To get more money.
Well,
aliens.
No. I don't care who. Just let me know in advance. So I can buy the stock. That's all that matters.
But you won't have an advantage like the politicians have. And normal people, when they do insider trading, they get arrested. They face real prosecution. They face the justice system going down, breathing down their necks, and putting them in jail.
Going down. I was like, where are you going?
Martha Stewart.
Get your hand out of
Martha Stewart.
Head out of the gutter.
Stewart she was worth. She's a billionaire. She went to jail for 6 months.
Absolutely.
For $75,000 trade.
Yeah. Why aren't these Congress members? Why aren't these senators going to jail for their insider trading? And then we also have to understand how nasty this is, especially when it comes to so many people struggling financially. This is a game. There's winners and there's losers. They rig the system so they are always the winners. Who's the losers? Everyone else, all the other peasants, the people who have their retirement accounts in the stock market that, of course, are guaranteed to lose because these people are rigging the game for the benefit of themselves. So this is absolutely seedy, disgusting behavior, especially when it comes to so many people being poor, so many blue-collar workers being screwed over, and these people are enriching themselves while taking money away from everyone else.
Do you think the lottery is like unethical?
Yeah, because most of that money goes to the state and it's taxed. And absolutely, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they tax like what, like
half, almost half of it.
Yeah.
So you're literally financing the state through the lottery.
It's just legalized
they
gambling.
call it a poor tax.
Yeah.
It's gambling, and then if $100 go into the pot, $50 goes to the government, the $50 goes to the jackpot, and then you pay taxes on that even.
Yeah, like the person who won the $1.2 billion, who still hasn't come forward, which is odd. I think they were taking home at the end of the day like $400 million, which is nothing to sneeze at. But basically, government stole $800 million from that person.
But then you got to pay taxes, so it's like it's not only is the pot split between the person and the government's cut, but then the money you get actually gets cut again.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
So of the 1.2, it was 2.4. Half of it had gone to the government, and
Yes.
they're getting taxed
Yep.
another 60% or 70.
That's why they
Something
were
like that.
walking away with $400 million because 1.2 right off the bat, half of it goes to education, and then you have half, and then your half gets cut in half by taxes.
I don't like
and
saying like this should be illegal,
indoctrination.
this should be illegal, but that lottery has really always set me really awry.
Let's get back to the 60 Minutes interview. We have this tweet here from Benny Johnson. What do you think of people who say you are unfit for the job of president? Biden says, "Watch me. The proof of the pudding is in the eating." Now, this is a real quote, and I think younger people just don't know it because we go by the shorter, the proof is in the pudding. But the actual old idiom, I guess, is as Biden expressed it. But it's not just that. I want to play for you this clip, and then we will roast Joe Biden.
You are the oldest
Whoa, let's turn that down a little bit. There you go.
president ever.
Pretty good shape, huh?
No,
Which
not
leads to my
pretty
next
good shape.
question. You are more aware of this than anyone. Some people ask whether you are fit for the job.
Some people.
And when you hear that, I wonder what you think.
Watch me.
Watch me.
I mean, honest to God, that's all I think. Watch me. If you think I don't have the energy level or the mental acuity, then that's one thing. It's another thing of just watch and keep my schedule.
What?
Do what I'm doing. I think that, I don't, when I sit down with our NATO allies and keep them together, I don't have them saying, wait a minute, how old are you? What did they say? It's a matter of, that old expression, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I mean, I respect the fact that people would say, you're old. But I think it relates to how much energy you have and whether or not the job you're doing is one consistent with what any person of any age would be able to do.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not.
He is fly.
What did he just say?
Why?
Okay, he said, I have trouble even saying to myself the number of years in my head.
Yep.
The number of years of what? What's he talking
How
about?
old he is?
How
I
old
can't
is he?
believe I'm 75. He wanted
Is that what
to
he's trying to say?
78.
And then he says, I know, what does he say? I don't think of myself as old as I am, then fly.
Then fly.
At the very beginning, he's like,
like
so
a-
people think you're old, and he was like, looking pretty good, huh? And then Scott Pelley just looks away. He can't even look him in the eyes when he says it.
Maybe.
Like, oh my God, did
Maybe
you just
he's
say
stuck
that?
in the 80s. He's like, I'm pretty fly. It's like,
Yeah,
well, we
I'm
stopped
pretty fly.
saying that when like Marky Mark stopped rapping.
like
This was Biden.
It's like,
Full defense mode. He's whining. He keeps talking like this.
And he keeps talking.
If I talk to you guys like this,
Look.
it would sound like I was trying to hide something. If I always talked like this.
Like if somebody
Such an annoying tone.
If I was sitting down with an interviewer and they were like, Tim, some people think that you are unfit to host this show, I'd go, why? Well, here's what they said. I'd be like, oh, okay. Well, I disagree. I don't know what else you want me to say.
Yeah.
The fact that Biden gave all of these answers shows that he knows exactly what his problems are, and he has to try and address them in a way or counter them. Because the reality is he knows exactly why people are saying it. Thus, he gave this long-winded, drawn-out, wishy-washy response that ultimately ended in nonsense.
Yeah, but look at how polite that he gets the open-ended question. Like some people are saying this, you know, how does that make you feel? Or what would you say in that? If it was someone who Scott Pelley didn't like, it would be like, why should we believe you when you say you're healthy enough to be president? Like, why should we trust that you have the mental acuity? Like, it would be so much more defensive, so much more attacking. But with Biden, it's this open-ended. How does that make you feel?
He says, do what I do. Like, are you telling the people who think you're unfit to
be
Run for president.
to copy your schedule and see if they can do it?
Yeah, really.
Is that his point?
This is him also allegedly being drugged up, because there's some sources, there's some rumors out there that he's being fed a whole bunch of drugs right before these interviews. And then the interviewer here is still not doing his job. Like, counter, be like, 7 times 5. Right now. or just look shocked and be like, explain yourself more here, because this absolutely makes no sense at all. And if there ever was an argument that there's a shadowy, secretive government ruling things behind the scenes, this is it right there.
Just because I recently finished watching Breaking Bad, that the instant joke I get is that we should do a gag where it's this interview, and then it like cuts to slightly behind the scenes with Walter White being like, get it right. Say it. Like Biden's all hopped up on blue sky meth.
This is Biden got these questions ahead of time, and then I assume
they do all the time.
And then CBS sent this interview to the White House before they aired it to make sure everything was clear. If
5 days.
If the interviewer had actually been like, "Okay, you're saying you're fine. I'm watching you walk around the Oval Office, and you're shuffling left and right and looking like an old man," they would have been like, "Interview's over. Get him out of here," and they wouldn't have run it.
If this was a real interview, the interview would have been like, "You're kidding me, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're joking, right?"
Look at the Leslie Stahl interview, also 60 Minutes of President Trump. How hostile it was, how nasty. I mean, it was a vicious interview because she hates him, and they let their true colors fly. I tweeted this earlier today. Daniel Turner, Power of the Future, Daniel Turner, PTF on Twitter. I tweeted this earlier today. If you were the president's White House comms team, and it's been 210 days since he's done an interview, and you're like, holy crap, we got to break the streak. They chose 60 Minutes and Scott Pelley for a reason, and it's not because they're top-notch journalists. They wanted softballs.
This is what people need to understand, too. These interviews have always been selectively edited.
Yeah.
Always. I love how they like to rag on Project Veritas. Like, the videos are selectively edited, and it's like they're doing an undercover operation. I do think, in many circumstances, James should publish the raw archives. Be like, here's our editorial, like that we published. Here's the raw footage. Make up your own mind.
I thought one of the most...
But these interviews, since the inception of 60 Minutes, have always been edited. And people don't understand that. I guarantee you, he asks a question. There are certain points in the interview, because I watched it, where it'll show Joe Biden talking, and then it'll cut to Scott Pelley just shaking his head and nodding. That's a trick, so they can edit the audio of Biden without making it seem like they did an edit, because they get a still shot of a solid 30 seconds of Pelley, but then they take 2 45-second Bidens, mash them together, and put his video over it so you don't see a jump cut.
Thank you for bringing that up, especially when he asked him about Taiwan. And this is an old thing they used to do in the 80s, too, I remember, but I didn't realize it was the media manipulation like you're talking about till today. He asked him, would you use military troops? Would you put American troops in Taiwan if China were invaded? And Biden goes, yes. And then Biden starts to clarify. He goes, and then immediately it edits to Scott Pelley and his voice talking over Biden's response to arguably the most important question ever asked of a U.S. president in the last month or year or whatever.
Of our generation.
Literally going to war with China. And it's Scott Pelley talking over Biden's response. You can't even understand what Biden was saying. And then it cuts back to Biden saying the end of his response. And they edited out Biden's response.
Yeah.
People need to get this. This interview was probably substantially longer and then way cut down. I guarantee you, in this video, I'm willing to bet Biden probably went, what's he? And then they were like, okay, we'll cut that out and then we'll get his answer. Because here's what we know. We know that when Biden's speaking live, he says things like next now recent, bad at calf care, true and an Shabbat pressure, Trinidad Shabbat pressure. What else has he said? I got those 3. There's a few more. He says things that make no sense.
And he's angry.
And he gets angry.
Yeah, very
But here's
angry.
the important piece. I will listen to Joe Biden and he'll say something like, we got an economy, man. We got to store it up, strengthen. Inflation's bad. And then you'll read NBC and it'll say, the president said the economy needs to be shored up its strength because inflation is getting bad. And you're like, he did not say that.
Yeah, Daily Wire took a great...
you read that one?
Yeah. I don't know if we pull that tweet up. They gave it play-by-play.
And I hope that... I'm glad the Daily Wire understands this. When you read an article from the Daily Wire, they quote Biden, and it says, what's it? The economy is ... and they put it all in there.
Yeah, here's the quote: Biden on his mental focus. Oh, focused. Ha ha ha. I'd say it is. I haven't here. Look, I have trouble even saying to myself in my head the number of years. I no more think of myself being old as I am then fly. That's a literal translation.
Fly. It's like fetch.
Yes.
I'm surprised that the White House ran that response. That's insane.
He's not saying I'm fly.
No, but that's how I'm interpreting it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's like, I think what he's trying to say is...
I'm older than dirt?
No. He's saying... let me try and give a different sentence. He's saying something like, I wouldn't do a backflip as soon as... he's basically saying, to the same degree of which I fly, I think of myself as old, which is not.
That's weird.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
That's what he's trying to... Right, exactly. And I'm translating for him.
And now Tim Pool translates Joe Biden.
But this is the point. The media has to try and decode. It's like we're sitting in a bunker and we've got like a little wheel. We're spinning it like, I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. It's like, I can't figure it out.
Can you play the fly part again? Just the part where he says, I no longer think of me being...
Focus is.
It's focused. I haven't. Look.
Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I got to stop right there.
How's your mental focus?
Wait.
It's focused.
Exactly.
What the hell?
There's a cut there. There's a cut there. Hold on. Let me play the question again.
Each would be able to do.
How would you say your mental focus is?
It's focused.
I believe he said, how would you say your mental focus is? There was some kind of back and forth, and then they edited that response in because it's focused. What did the subject change to when he said that question? Because the subject was Biden. He's referring to himself as it, or his mental focus as it. No, mental focus was the subject, or he was the subject. So we wouldn't say when he says it, he's saying my mental focus is focused.
Yeah, but he was the subject, not the focus. You're right.
So he's calling himself it. No, they edited something out of there.
Weird.
But let's play more.
I haven't. Look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
I think I get it now. When he said the years, there's a missing context. They edited out a chunk of that.
You're right.
When he said, I have trouble saying even myself the number of years, they must have had a back and forth following up on what the question was, confusing Biden. Mentioned something about, you've been in for how many years, right? So you've been in for 50 some odd years. So how would you say it's going? And then, it's focused,
Yeah.
And I know more. I have trouble mentioning myself the number of years. That the context of where the years fits into this conversation makes no sense.
It's not his age. It's how long he's been working at this. It sounds like to me.
It sounds like they cut out a huge chunk of this, and Biden was probably rambling incoherently.
That's why the White House okayed that response, because it was the best they got out of that response. Because how's your mental focus? It's focused. It's not something you want someone to respond.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm too old to do this job any more than I think I can fly. Is like whether he was going to say something like that, or I don't think
He's saying like, I don't think of myself as. He says. He's basically saying, I think of myself as old as often as I fly, which is never.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But it's confusing because he flies in planes all the time. So it's like, are you talking about flapping your wings? Like, when I first heard that, I had to sit down and actually, I'm like looking at the quote in the transcript. First, you read the transcript and you're like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
I have no idea what he's trying to convey. Then you hear him say it and you go, wait, hold on. When I saw the first transcript, it was THEN. Then I saw the Daily Wire write THAN, and I'm like, I have this guy's out of his fucking mind.
Is thamfly a thing we don't know about? Is there a thamfly? Is that like a
then? So it's then or than.
Than.
Yeah.
Then fly. Like he's saying, I think of myself as old as often as I fly. What do you
Now,
saying?
if he says this, and the five of us sitting around this table, who are all fairly intelligent, are struggling, the beginning of his comment, he talks about, look, when I sit down with the NATO partners, imagine what they're really thinking. Like, what are we going to war? Like, what is he saying?
He went to the G7 and he said, we're going after Libya.
Yeah.
And everybody did go, what?
Well,
When is this happening? Did he mean Syria?
Syria, Libya.
And I tell people, when they try and downplay this stuff, the severity of it is Joe Biden's going to be in the Situation Room and he's going to be like, so give me the brief. And they're going to be like, we've got, Baghdadi, we've got these guys, we got this guy, here's the region they're moving in. And in the Middle East and North Africa, it's a large swath of territory that has overlap between some of these groups. And he's going to go, we need to get a missile strike in Libya. And they'll be like, the Libyan target. They'll be like, the Libya. And they'll go, well, the problem is centered over here. And I said Libya. And they'll go, okay.
All right.
They'll go to the generals and be like, he wants to strike and move in on Libya. And they're going to be like, why? What? Nothing's happening. They'll be like, this is what the commander-in-chief has ordered. Now, I don't think they would actually follow through because I think the White House has gone rogue. Let's jump to this next story, and I'll tell you, but I'll wrap up that thought. Basically,
Jill would stop.
Imagine a circumstance where they go, you got it, boss, and then all of a sudden you got terrorists outside of Syria, and then Libya is being bombed repeatedly.
Well, a situation like that is like, go get him, go kick his door down, go to Donald Trump's house and get blah, blah. Like these erratic, almost nonsensical moves are like really intense, weird, out of the sideways things, and they will go for it sometimes.
So you're saying the raid on Trump was actually...
It could have been like an old man anger rage thing.
It was an, won't someone rid me of this priest?
I don't know. He says he didn't know anything about it beforehand.
Donald Trump, somebody ought to raid his house. Take some documents from him.
He's like, go get him. I don't care what about the borders or the means. Justify the ends.
Justify the ends.
That's right. That's what he said.
So here's where we go. Check it out. We got this story as an update. China lodges complaint after Biden says U.S. would defend Taiwan in a Chinese invasion. So this is it. I'm going to say this first and foremost. The White House has gone rogue. Now I know. Hold on. We just did a long segment talking about how Biden's brain is completely broken. And so you would assume the White House must do something to stop a mad king, right? Like, what was it? Robert Baratheon? He was the one who slayed the... No, I'm sorry. That's not true. That was, it was Lannister.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie Lannister.
Jamie Lannister killed the Mad King. Because the Mad King was nuts. And he regretted it and he felt bad about it.
What is it? Aegon Targaryen? What was that his name?
I don't know.
It was the Targaryen, the Mad
That's right.
brother
The Mad King. And so here we have Joe Biden, who I don't think mad is the right word. What's the right word? The daft?
Senile?
The deluded?
Dotard.
Dotard. Yep.
Dotard.
The Dotard King.
The Dotard King.
Adult.
The Dotard King. And so the White House is basically intervening and rejecting and denying the stated policies of the commander-in-chief. Now, here's what I'm going to say. The executive branch has gone completely rogue. I firmly believe that. I was thinking about this today because Joe Biden has now said 4 times it is the U.S. policy, 4 times, to militarily defend Taiwan. And every time he does, the White House goes, actually, that's not true. And it's like, well, I don't know who the spokesperson is, but the commander-in-chief just went to a press conference in Tokyo and said, we will. And the president, commander-in-chief, just went in 60 minutes and said, this is our policy.
Yeah.
And when Scott Pelley said, you saying the U.S. Army would defend, he goes, yes. Definitively, when the president says it, the duly elected commander-in-chief, that is the policy. He sets the policy. The White House intervened and says, no, it isn't. The DOJ intervenes. They do what they want. Look at Donald Trump. This has been happening under Trump and Biden. Plain as day, the executive branch has gone rogue. Under Donald Trump, they lied to him about the number of troops in Syria, rejecting his orders to get our troops out. Under Joe Biden, he is stating definitively over and over again our policies. Our position on Putin? No, they said that's not true. Our position on Taiwan? No, it's not true. If the president says it, you listen. Who is the person under Trump and now under Biden? Who are the people who are outright saying we will not listen to the commander-in-chief?
Yeah, no, it's more than one. Look at Deborah Birx, right, when she was going back to COVID stuff, and in her book she talks about how I wouldn't give Trump those numbers. I wouldn't share that data. Like I wasn't going to share it with them because it would have screwed everything up. So she made a decision that I don't have to tell the president, so he can make decisions. I'm more powerful than the president, and I think at every policy issue there's someone who calls those shots. But the clean house has to be huge.
But there's no coincidence, especially when you look at the presidency, when it changes from Democratic to Republican. The national security state, American foreign policy, usually stays the same.
Yeah.
It's usually very very hawkish. It's very neoconservative. It's very pro-war, and it's very pro-globalization, pro-IMF, World Bank policies that, of course, are spreading all this globalization around the world. What I think is happening here, if I could put on my conspiratorial hat, is that they literally wheel Biden into an interview, which he does very few of, and then they wheel him off after they take him off all the drugs. They put him at a table, just like a Fisher-Price table, and it has a button, it has a phone, but none of it actually works. And there's people behind the scenes truly calling the shots, just like they do in almost every other presidency. And Biden legitimately could be pressing the nuke button, could be calling people, talking to people, but it's all make pretend. It's all make believe. It's not real. And the people truly calling the shots are people who have more power than the president of the United States, and they probably meet in private, organize, and set policies that, of course, we've been following for many decades now that always go unquestioned, that every president promises to change when he's going to become president. Every president, when he runs on that campaign trail, says, I'm going to stop the wars, I'm going to stop the spying, I'm going to bring back American liberties, I'm going to bring back America. And none of them are able to do it.
I love the idea of this is a skit for you, Tim. I love the idea of president with his fake phone, his fake buttons, that when he calls and he's like, get me the president of France, and it's like, do your French accent. It's like oui, monsieur president, this is, and they're like, get me Germany. It's like, oh, who does German? This is the German prime minister.
It's like
this one guy.
He's like
chewing
on the rubber phone.
give me the president of Germany. And it's like, how do you tell it?
Yeah.
Hello, this is president of Germany.
Exactly.
It's like, why do you sound Russian? I did Russian.
Regarding whether or not Joe Biden...
this is the president
Get me the president of the Congo. It's like, no, man, I'm not doing that.
But what other...
Not doing that.
But truly, what other evidence do you need than the current president of the United States to understand that there's a shadowy, secretive group really calling the things behind the scenes? What other evidence do you need?
It's not even a secret.
It's not a secret.
Under Donald Trump, they outright lied and blocked him from doing the things he ordered.
Yeah, if I went on CBS as the president and made a statement about my political agenda, and then someone in my administration came out and secretly countered, I'd fire them. That moment, you're fired.
Seriously.
It's why
Trump said he was going to release the JFK documents. He didn't do it. He couldn't do it because there was someone above him said, no, you're not.
It's one of the reasons why I love...
You say yeah?
What you said, lizard person? No, I didn't say yeah to that. But
one of the reasons, the person I'm most excited about running for office right now is running in Washington State, Dan Crenshaw. But one of the things that got him to run was that his wife was in Syria when they lied about the numbers. And
Dan Crenshaw?
I'm sorry, Dan Crenshaw.
I'm like, he's
my
in Texas.
gosh. Holy cow, I can't believe I said Dan Crenshaw. Joe Kent.
Yeah,
and his wife was... he
With a couple of young hunks. I know where you're headed.
One is. Has Joe Kent ever been on?
No.
Yes, yeah.
Joe Kent
was
I wasn't on that show.
Right, and it's like his wife was one of the ones who died because they lied to him when Trump was like, "What's going on in Syria?" And they were like, "Just tell him this, tell him this, tell him this." They lied, and so Joe Kent is like, "You guys killed my wife because you're more powerful than President Trump."
Maybe.
Bill Gates, by the way, is bragging today. Bill Gates came out on MSNBC. They were playing a video clip of him, and he says, the president of the United States, Donald Trump at the time, came to me. He asked to be an advisor. I said no. And then Donald Trump asked me if I needed to do an independent commission on the effects of vaccines. Bill Gates says he told him to absolutely not to do it because it was a, quote, dead end, and the president of the United States listened to him and listened to the advice of Bill Gates and didn't do a commission investigation into what's really happening right now. And now the data is still being hidden away from everyone, with the FDA hiding information about what actually happened and transpired within the last few years, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And it's got to be all financially, going back to this issue of the stocks, it's all financial incentives. It's not just because people, I believe so passionately about Syria that I'm going to lie about the data. It's like, no, you're doing this because you have ulterior motives.
We've got, we call it a cult, but it's mass formation psychosis.
Yeah.
Well, here, I'm looking at the definition of madness, a state of severe mental illness, not non-technical. So you could argue that Biden's in a state of madness right now, that he's the mad president or a mad president. Behavior or thinking that is very foolish or dangerous.
But
saying that we're going to invade Taiwan when apparently the White House's statement is
invade Taiwan.
Right. Defend Taiwan. Send troops there against the will of the people.
No, Taiwan wants us to defend
If they want us, then it wouldn't be an invasion. But if they didn't ask for it and we went there to defend democracy, then it would technically be a counter-invasion.
Unless you think it is China, then we are invading.
And so apparently the policy is we're not going to mention it, but he mentioned it anyway. So that's a state of foolish or dangerous thinking. I don't know.
Well, look. The problem here is I think a lot of people recognized that it was dangerous what Biden said, that he's risking World War III. I think the Hodge twins said Grandpa's about to get us into World War III. And I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, but Trump had that phone call where he was like, they thought we would nuke them if they took Russia, if Russia took Ukraine or China took Taiwan. And he's like, I don't know, they believed me, but maybe 5%, so is enough. And I'm like, that's crazy and scary. But see, that's Trump being like that level of aggression. So my issue here is not that Joe Biden said we will defend Taiwan. I actually can respect that, because when he was asked about it twice, he goes, yes, like definitively, no question. My problem is somebody in the White House is defying him and trying to assert some kind of authority over his stated policy positions.
And is super pro-China. This entire White House is. And I always have to go back to environmental issues, but if you really want to defend Taiwan so sincerely from an invasion of China, then you would be seeking policies that weaken China. And yet we're spending $386 billion to buy solar panels and wind turbines from China.
And lithium batteries.
And lithium, exactly. Our whole policy is pro-China.
And we gave them Afghanistan. We literally gave them Afghanistan on a silver platter and all the raw minerals. As soon as the United States military left, the Chinese engineers and the Chinese companies came right in, and now we're going to be going through a green revolution, going to be energy independent. We're not going to be independent. We're just buying lithium batteries from China. China, that of course has record CO2 emissions. They're doing this to help the environment. The environment's going to be screwed over even more, allegedly, according to their own and data. But what's going to change is we're going to be investing in China, and China is going to be controlling our energy sector, which is crazy.
And we
going to be?
Yeah. And we're removing tariffs from China.
Yeah. If we move away from fossil fuels and we go towards lithium batteries and solar panels, China essentially will have a control on the market. Yeah. They don't have it yet because of fossil fuels. The petrodollar has the control on the market, but China will have a huge control.
Thanks for the plug.
Elon also has mentioned
fossil
that
fuels.
lithium's not the future of battery power. He knows that as well. I don't have a story pulled up about it.
Graphene, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
I think he actually has recently been looking into graphene batteries.
Oh, wow, yeah, graphene.
Yeah, graphene.
Graphene, huh?
Power of the future
Graphene.
with graphene.
I was when I was in Texas doing this youth conference, because there are a bunch of rural folks on I Love Rural America, and we talked about the Ford F-150, the Lightning one, and I just told them about how a Wall Street Journal guy was driving it with an empty 2-horse trailer, and after 100 miles, the battery was dead. And I was like, how many of you haul 15?
The electric one.
The electric one. Empty 2-horse trailer, 100 miles dead. And I was like, how many of you haul 15,000, 20,000 pounds of cattle on a weekly basis? And so, so of course Elon knows the future of lithium is it doesn't have the horsepower. It doesn't have the strength. It doesn't, that's why, and it's cool. And that's why little Duracells are great. And that's why batteries in your iPhones are great. But to compare just the potential energy of what is needed to power elevators and to power airplanes,
It's nonsensical, and it's moving towards a pathway where, of course, they will be limiting people's movement, and that is the end game towards the green revolution that we're going towards. It's the thing behind the screen. It's behind the cover. That's essentially where we're heading towards.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's this story that I'm seeing going around. They're saying that Ram's going to drop the Eco Diesel V6 or whatever. So a lot of people it's 33 miles per gallon. It's the Ram Turbo Diesel 3-liter V6 or whatever. A lot of people are bringing this up because, Ram's going to be moving forward with like an electric truck or some sort. But you were just talking about how it went 100 miles and then died.
It was dead. Yeah. So, I mean, if you need to haul anything of weight, as of now, the electric vehicles can't make it. They may revolutionize electric cars and electric trucks someday, and the future is bright. We may get there. But the fact of the matter is we're not there. So if you think I'm just going to get my electric truck and do what I do with my fossil fuel truck, you're kidding yourself. You can't haul substantial weight. The same reason why when they said we finally got this airplane to fly from JFK to France on battery power or on solar panels, I was like, yeah, it was unmanned and it had nothing but batteries. It was a toy. You just can't compete with the actual energy released from the hydrocarbons of fossil fuels. You can't. Nuclear could.
They're saying with Motor Trend writes the 2024 Ram 1500 electric vehicle is going to get 500 miles to the charge or whatever. 200 kilowatt hours provide a promised 500 miles of range, and the 800 volt architecture will speed up the fast charging. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work out.
Put some weight in it.
So people need to understand this too, because Luke knows this. We have Teslas. You put weight in those things, those batteries go down quick.
Yeah. Fill the back of that with a couple of round bales of hay, and now do it in February.
Yeah,
and see how
especially
far
when
you
it's
can
cold,
go.
which has a direct effect on the batteries,
what are
which
they
is a
thinking
negative
with
one.
this stuff? The harvest.
They're not
man.
thinking. They're not
all
thinking.
Biden money. It's all Biden money.
It's all investment into foreign globalist corporations that, of course, are going to be giving you a product that doesn't work half as good, that is meant to, of course, deny you the ability to move. That's essentially what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Electric trucks, man, it's a crazy concept. But I'm willing to bet Tesla will do it better, to be honest.
Yeah, they're moving away from.
Didn't they
lithium.
create like a semi truck?
Tesla?
Yeah.
What's
Didn't
the
they have
really-
something
They have
like that?
Cybertruck.
What's
No,
the
they
really
have the Cybertruck,
weird?
but they had another big one
Something
that's
like
going to be
that.
automated. But also the automation and the self-driving is also going to have a huge, vast effect on humanity as well
Fast charging is bad.
for the battery.
Yeah,
Yep.
where it's really bad for the battery. You get warnings. Tesla's only let you charge by default up to 80% unless you manually override. And if you're doing standard charging, which is like 10% of the speed, then you can go up to 90%. But so what is it like? What does it add, Luke? Like 10 miles per hour or something? A standard charge?
I'm not sure the exact.
I think it's 40.
Yeah.
I think because I've got a Tesla plug, and I think it gives you 40 miles of range every hour. So you use that car for 1 day for errands, and you've got to plug it in for several hours. You go to the supercharger, it'll be done in 20 minutes, but it damages the battery and it warns you to only go up to 80%. Now imagine you're in a truck, and imagine you're in a Ram 1500. How much weight do you think a 1500 normally would be towing?
Oh gosh, that thing isn't more than 4 tons. I can't imagine.
4 tons?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think
a 1500.
Yeah, I don't think it could
But I
weigh
mean,
more
like,
than that.
But I mean, like regularly. I mean, people in the chat probably know. Like, what's the amount of weight?
Maybe
Like a
probably
1500?
2 tons.
It
Probably 2
depends
tons.
on the hardware underneath that we can't even mention on this YouTube channel.
The hardware.
The hardware underneath the truck that we can't say on this YouTube channel.
What?
The get it? Get
The
it?
transmission.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
What a
Luke.
world, dude.
What a world. But no. Of course. But my question is just like, if somebody buys a Ram 1500, they're not going to be hauling commercially. I mean, it's going to be for what, like semi-personal, semi-professional.
Yeah, this says here approximately
Probably.
990 to 2,000 pounds.
Right.
So that's it. Wow.
Yeah,
Half a
it's
ton.
That's
1500.
nothing. Oh wow.
I didn't think it was going to be that
That's
crazy.
a 2014 Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's old. It could probably do way better these days. So if you're getting the electric one, you know they're expecting to pull that much. If you think you're getting 500 miles of range on that battery,
No.
and then don't expect to do any like weekend work jobs,
Yeah.
because you got to stop that thing, plug it in for 5 hours,
And don't
if you
go up
wanna
any
use it.
hills.
How long does it
And
charge?
don't do it in
whole?
winter.
Yeah.
Like if you charge your battery and you just let it sit, how long does it stay charged?
That's a good question on an electric car. I don't know. If you Tesla owners, if you plug in your Tesla and it's fully charged and you unplug it and you just let it sit, does it last for a day, 2 days, 5 days, a week?
I filled up
Does
my
it-
gas tank like a year ago, and I haven't moved my car, and it's still got like.
I hope you.
Well, gas
Turn it
turn
on.
it on. Gas goes
occasionally.
Yeah,
bad
okay.
too, and your car battery goes bad as
Yeah,
well.
the car is totally
But I think it's
defunct.
like
It just sits there.
10 to 15% per day, depending if you have Sentry mode on. So you lose about 10 to
Right.
15% per day. On,
And
on
it's
a
connected
Tesla.
to the internet. It's got a cell signal. But that doesn't take that much battery at all. So how would we make a nuclear power truck? How would we do that?
That's what I love about Back to the Future. Remember, he comes back. Doc comes back at the end, and he's got Mr. Fission in the back of the DeLorean, right? And he's putting in all the food scraps. Why are we not there?
What if we made like a nuclear powered steam train? You know,
Well, I mean,
they just put water in it and it just goes.
the Navy has all nuclear powered ships where nuclear is not legal for commercial or private use, but the military uses it. All the aircraft carriers, submarines are all nuclear powered. Why can't, if you want to go on Carnival cruise from here to Jamaica, why can't you take a nuclear powered cruise ship?
Okay,
and you're
so-
like, well, it's dangerous. Well, you let the poor 18-year-old farm boy from Iowa get on a nuclear powered ship, and he goes around the world.
Well,
so
here's
I don't know
what
why
I'm
they don't
thinking.
all have nuclear power.
You wouldn't need that much nuclear material. You know they would shovel the coal, make a steam engine work.
Yep.
Just put a couple of nuclear rods in there, and it's good for a really long time.
Imagine
I
if
guess
the-
it's just remarkably dangerous.
The size of those tankers that bring all of our crap from China, right? Those things that are the size of 5 football fields, and they've got 40,000. Imagine if they were nuclear powered. How much greener for the earth to not burn hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel? But they're not
what do you-
allowed to be nuclear powered.
But they're going international waters. What if they made like nuclear auto ferries that stopped before they get to territorial waters and then switched to gas?
They should. For some reason, right now, only military is allowed to have nuclear powered. If you have a little fancy yacht, you should have a bit small nuclear engine. I should have a nuclear reactor in my backyard. You should have one.
It's like Fallout. You ever play the Fallout games? So everybody had. Their cars were nuclear, so in the game they explode, which makes no sense for nuclear power. But,
No.
But people think like nuke means bomb, so
exactly. It's
there you
it's
go.
the exact same technology. Also, they're little small, except they just build a big wall around it so that the explosions is contained.
So
That's how nuclear power works. I'm joking. It's not how it works.
What's the end result of
Really how it
this?
works,
People talk about how Tesla cars can be remote controlled and all that stuff. It's like, oh, you buy the electric vehicle, they're not gonna let you charge, and I'm like, they can just shut your gas station down. Like if they can stop you from charging your car, they can just shut down a gas station. I mean, if they don't want you driving, you're not driving.
Yeah, if the power goes out at a gas station, the pumps don't work.
Right, exactly. So people are like, in California, it said don't charge your electric car, and it's like, and?
Well, I think the biggest difference, and this is where I agree with you 100%. For good, the fossil fuel industry is still in private hands. If you need gas, you're not dependent upon. Now, your government can shut it down, true, but the government doesn't provide you with gas. The government doesn't produce it. They don't manufacture it. They don't refine it. It's in the hands of the private sector. The government, for good or for ill, I would think for ill, the government does provide your
Absolutely
power.
ill.
The government does provide your power. And so if what charges your vehicle is gas and it's free, or it's electricity and it's government, then you're in the hands of the government, 100%. And that is a scary, scary prospect. They're like, well, I'll just put solar panels around my house. But the solar does not generate enough electricity to charge your car.
I'm going to build a sail car. Yeah.
They work as well as wind turbines.
I'm gonna build a Flintstone car and then beat all of you guys. But now also another layer to understand here with smart meters and smart grids and smart cities, they'll be able to calculate what you used your electricity for, since everything is connected to Wi-Fi, everything's connected to the internet. And just like they start denying drones access to particular territory, they could do the same thing with electric vehicles that, of course, have cameras inside of cars, watch your every move, and of course could control and database you on such a level where you could literally be brought to a police station if you commit a thought crime inside of your Tesla. The Tesla will automatically snitch on you to the central controllers. The central controllers will literally drive you to the gulag.
You don't have enough credit. Yeah, you have enough social credit. You didn't do enough good deeds.
No, you
said
use
the
too
wrong
much
things.
carbon.
Too much carbon.
The end game here is also a social credit carbon score that, of course, the World Economic Forum has been talking about. They just released an article talking about how great was it for people to be locked down during the last 2.5 years, and how that gives us hope to lock people down for a new social carbon credit score that they're going to be implementing. And it gives them the possibility to do this as they were celebrating the previous lockdowns, looking for future lockdowns that they want to put on you, and they can only put them on you if you, of course, acquiesce and comply with this utter nonsense that they have already put us through within the last few years.
Well, that's why a lot of the Greens keep talking about climate change as a public health emergency, because as soon as you compare it to COVID, then you can use the same protocols of COVID. And the Greens have wanted to make meat illegal for 40 years, right? The Greens are so envious. I wrote an article about this a couple of months ago about COVID envy. The Greens look at the COVID people and are like, how did you guys do this in a couple of months? We've tried for 40 years to get people to not go to church, but under COVID it was like, whoop, sorry, churches are closed.
But you could go to the liquor store.
Yeah,
You could go to McDonald's. You could go to Walmart.
Absolutely.
Just think about the kind of person that would try to forcefully take away your steak.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had a good tenderloin? It's amazing.
It's Beyond Meat is just as good. Ask
No.
Bill Gates.
Oh, no.
He also
Yeah.
did that freaky 60 Minutes interview where he talked about how it was just as good with Anderson Cooper. Just as good.
He's just-
and guess who owns all like the Beyond Meat factory freak show world, or who buys up all the farmland and says you can't produce cows anymore.
And has man bazongas out there in the general public, and it's clearly a very unhealthy individual.
Didn't Elon Musk post the pregnant man meme?
Yes.
Exactly. I made a T-shirt out of it, and it's one of our best sellers, and it's
Just hold on,
absolutely
you
is
guys.
true.
I went to the Frederick County Fair this past weekend, and I love the county fairs. They're amazing. The Frederick one's really big because Frederick's like, I think 300,000 people or some massive city. And they had chickens. You get to go in, and there's animals all over. And there were bunnies, and the bantams are always just so funny. And there were chickens, and the chickens, none of them looked anywhere near as cool as our chickens, for real. Like, I looked at the Brahmas, I was like, they got nothing on Sarah. but I just think about that, how it is not difficult to have chickens, right? Even if you want to live sustainably, you get chickens, all you have to do is protect them. They just eat. They walk around, they eat grass, they eat bugs, they eat. Then there's berries and there's other stuff. You just eat all day nonstop. You don't got to do anything. You just fence them off and make sure nothing kills them. And then the best part is you can eat their babies. You can eat the babies before they're babies. You don't want to eat the baby chicks.
Yeah.
And then you can eat them when it's time to eat them. Why take that away and make us eat crickets? When you can literally just have the chickens eat the crickets, and then you get the chicken meat and the eggs and their feet. You can eat all of the chicken parts.
Yeah.
And then you can even use chicken bones and whatever for whatever it is you want to do. I don't know. You can make a little car out of them or something.
Yeah, the fascination with crickets. I see all the videos all the time, the images of like all the cricket snacks, all the. We had one of the times I was here with that awesome Canadian Kian.
Kian Bexty.
Right, he's big into all the different cricket manufacturers and cricket, and I hope Ian's Kian's watching. Kian Bexty, I follow him on Twitter.
Have you?
But he was big into all the companies that make cricket food.
Have you ever looked at the sodium levels of fake meat?
Oh, it's probably through the roof.
Lethal.
Insane. Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I was looking at, I can't remember which fake meat company it was, but the sodium, it was like one burger patty was like 73% of your daily sodium intake because it tastes like crap.
Yeah.
Now look,
Yep.
I don't mind I don't mind veggie burgers. Like a black bean burger.
Can be very good.
Oh, they're delicious.
Quinoa burger I've had. Those are fine.
Yeah.
I love, and it's like it's its own thing. You get like a quinoa black bean with like peas or whatever, and then you can put like onions. It's good when it's meant to be good, but sometimes you want hard protein. You want just to get some protein. Maybe you're trying to get all ripped like Hemsworth. You got to eat a lot of fish and you got to eat a lot of chicken. And beef is okay. I don't like to eat too much beef. Because it's rough, it's tough. Chicken and fish is really, really great. But they're taking all of that away. Why fish? Get a pond, throw fish in it, and then make sure you're not eating too much of it. But they're literally like, despite the fact that it's easily possible to have sustainable farms for yourself and a homestead, they're like, no, you should eat the bugs.
Nothing is better for those farmers who are watching also than a pig. Because the thing eats the pig eats the chicken.
Have you ever seen
pigs eat everything?
I watched a
True.
pig eat a chicken bone.
Yeah.
And it just shatters that in
people.
one bite.
Pigs eat. If
swallows
you
it.
fall in,
boy.
if you fall in a pig trough while pigs are eating, and your hand is in the way, like watch out. Like they're not to say that they're violent like that, but if they are eating and you put your hand there, like
Stop.
sorry, watch the hand, buddy.
Legit. I want to make a pig horror movie. Let's do it. We got a budget. Who wants to make a?
I'm sure there's many.
And it'd be like the pigs cometh, and it'll be like a bunch of hogs break out of a pig farm.
A bunch of people in New York State that only have 5 rounds in their magazine, and there's like 50 hogs. And I'm like, no,
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make a comedy horror where it's like
They find a bunch of
New York
psychoactive
City-
mushrooms.
A pig farm just north of New York City erupts, and there's like 1,000 pigs that rampage through the city. And no one has any weapons, so it's just like people
GMO
running, and the
Monsanto
are
pigs.
like,
Oh, and they would eat so well in New York City because there are so many homeless and drug addicts just like sleeping on the street.
no.
The pigs would they get so fat they wouldn't be able to be violent after a while.
It'd be funny if like we do a parody film that's like meant to be silly, but then it turns out to be so good that it spawns like an AMC drama series that lasts like 6 seasons, becomes like multiple movies in a universe, and it's the Pig Cometh cinematic universe.
Andrew plug.
I'm gonna write that down. The Pigs Cometh.
No plugging here.
Andrew's my husband. I want to talk about pigs. He's Australian and Australian outback.
Your
and-
husband, and you want to talk about pigs? What are you saying about your
Hey,
husband?
come on now.
Because in the Australia, they hunt wild boar, and they would do it for fun because Australians are all a little crazy. They would do it without any weapons. They would just use dogs. And their dogs were so well trained that they knew which ear to grab, and if they grabbed the wrong one, they would switch. So I'm the left ear, I'm the right ear. And Andrew will tell you, if you just get a pig from the behind, any farmer knows this, pigs can't turn around. You just have to grab its hind legs. And I'm like, so this is a wild pig with 2 dogs on its ears, and you would just grab its leg? Yeah, you grab its leg and you pull out your knife, and he says this with an Australian accent, which I'm not going to imitate, and you pull out your knife and you just stab it in the neck.
Knife.
And I'm like, Australians
That's not a
are
knife.
crazy. Australians are very weird.
No, hey, legit. I want to make a pig horror movie.
Pig
It'd be
horror
fun.
movie. So make it Australia.
But look, that's a really good idea. The conflict should be that people can only have 3 rounds in their magazines, and most don't even have guns because people who live there tend not to. Like in New York, don't have them, and so then it like the superhero turns out to be some like he's a big fat redneck guy with a MAGA hat, and he's got like a 100 round drum, and he's like, "I'll save you," and then he goes to the city just mowing down.
And they
pigs.
team up with all the gangbangers, and the gangbangers and the MAGA people come together, and they fight off the Monsanto pig invasion.
Oh, dude, I
that'd be
legit
awesome.
want to make it.
Yeah.
How much money do we need to make something like that? That would be an amazing movie. You guys know it.
New York doesn't have enough
$6
guns
million
for the
bucks,
pig.
probably.
You
6
gotta
million?
I mean, it'd be
guess
really
for the-
good for 6 million. Yeah.
with the pigs though. Unless we did like really crappy CGI pigs.
They didn't get I just saw a pig trap where they get like these big cylindrical wire like gates that are hanging in the air, and then the 20 pigs go in, like feral pigs, and they throw all this food in there, and all these pigs come in, they start eating the food, and then the wire things just drop and hit the ground, and they encase like 40, they can trap like 40 hogs at a time, because the whole thing going out there and killing them one by one is you can't stop the spread of the pig, because they keep breeding the ones that survive.
And we have a huge feral pig problem in this country. I'm sure a lot of the listeners who are from that part of the world, and every time there's an AR story, like no one should have an AR-15, I go to Texas ranches and they're like, if I don't come out here every night with my AR, from this distance, for my protection and safety, the only thing strong enough to kill those, and they do amazing, they kill cows. We have a huge feral pig problem in this country.
I got to pull up this story. Somebody in the chat mentioned it. And is irony the right word?
I saw this.
Beyond Meat COO arrested for biting man's nose near Razorback Stadium.
He just wanted some meat. Okay.
He was hungry.
No. It's just, you go that long without it.
Yeah.
You're just so desperate for it. You'll take whatever you can get.
I know.
Oh
I also
gosh.
like the idea we could do a movie where it's like after eating nothing but Beyond Meat, you become a zombie. Your brain is like, I need meat, and then you just start eating people.
You kind of do. When you look at a lot of the people who don't eat meat, the brain is largely fat for a reason. There is, you could usually tell someone when they're on an all vegan diet, and there is a big correlation with unhealthiness. Let's just be real with each other. Let's be honest with each other. We could talk about pigs all we want, but I think the biggest attack target always has been cows. Cows are one of the most nutritious, one of the most amazing animals on the face of the earth. Ian loves them because of many different reasons that I won't mention here.
I do love cows.
But cows also are linked to the progression of humanity because of the amino acids, the micronutrients, and just the amount of nutrition that they provide human beings is essential. A few decades ago, the majority of people had cows. We no longer have cows.
Every family had a cow.
Yeah.
Every family had a cow.
Majority of them had a cow because they needed it.
There was a period where, like, I was reading about it in the city, like, or in the quote-unquote cities, they were smaller. Every family had a cow.
Yeah, and whether it's raw milk or beef liver, you can't underestimate the amount of nutrition that they provide to the human beings that Beyond Meat doesn't even compare. And we're also finding out that a lot of the studies with Beyond Meat being comparable in nutritional value have been doctored, have been altered, and have been faked.
You can't pay scientists off to come up with studies.
I want to read this. This is really fascinating about what happened. It says, just after 10 p.m., an officer saw the man shuffling and groaning down the sidewalk with his leg twisted in the wrong direction. He raised his hands vertically and started saying, brains. I'm kidding. It doesn't say that at all. It doesn't say that at all.
You had me there for a second. I'm like, maybe he tripped. Maybe he hurt himself.
It says, the owner of the Subaru got out and stated that Ramsey pulled him in close and started punching his body. Ramsey also bit the owner's nose, ripping the flesh off the tip of his nose.
Jeez.
Oh, man, he really just wanted meat. He just couldn't take it anymore. They like lock. Imagine what happens to your psyche when he's like, no one was forcing him per se to eat nothing but Beyond Meat. But as the COO, he had to keep up appearances. Yeah. So he like shows up to a Burger King and he's like, I just want a burger. And then someone goes, hey, you're the guy from Beyond Meat. And he's like, that's right. I'll have the Beyond Burger.
I had a weird.
He walks in a restaurant and then he's like, I'm just going to get the filet mignon. And the guy goes, hey, I know you. You're from Beyond Meat. We got your burger ready to go, just like you like
Here's
it.
your
He's
salad.
like, no, here's your salad.
When I was vegan for a few years, 3 or 4 years ago, Luke, kind of what you were saying, I got my skin started deteriorating. I wasn't getting enough B vitamins, and I got really angry. I would get really angry at people eating animals. I would be like, these blood suckers, these mosquito, these vampires eating flesh, sucking blood. I would get like how gross they are. Like they need to feast off of the animal living. Like it was so weird.
It's just biology.
No. I've made this point before, but I just got to say it in lieu of what Ian was saying. Vegans are the real bad guys. No, look, hold on. I don't mind if you're vegan. I don't mind if you're carnitarian. I don't care if you're omnitarian or whatever you'd call it. I guess
pescatarian. Yeah.
Pescatarian. Well, you eat fish and chicken, but you don't eat steak and mammal. My point is, this whole argument that people are bad for eating mammals because they feel pain. I look at it this way: if you've got two guys. One guy is growing his own food and eating it, and one guy is ransacking and killing other farmers and eating their crops. Which one is the bad guy? It's obvious. The dude who's going around and ransacking is the bad guy. We don't like him. right? We want him to stop. Now think about animals and plant life. Plants minding their own business, absorbing free and abundant sunlight, taking in rainwater and only what they get to grow and live their beautiful lives. And then along comes this boar that just destroys the plant, just annihilates it. And the plant was minding its own business. And I'm like, yo, that boar just killed that innocent thing. It did nothing wrong. And those boars, they attack people too. So you know what I'm saying? You should be killing and eating these wild animals.
That's
the
right.
plants are the ones who deserve to live. Now you want to eat fruit, an animal? Okay, but you just got to make sure you plant the seeds afterwards because that's the point of the fruit.
Yeah.
But to destroy the plant that did no harm and in no way negatively impacts you. You see deer are real villains. Going around just eating all the green. Like those trees didn't do anything to anybody. But those deer, you got to watch out for them.
Part of what you're saying about replanting the seeds of what you eat is concerning about the fish population, because I heard you guys talking about that before. I wasn't in the room, but that maybe they believe that we're running out of fish, that we're overpopulating, there's not enough fish to feed the population. But there's this technology called iron fertilization where they take iron dust and they put it in the ocean, and then it creates plankton. The plankton eat the iron. It oxidizes and they eat it. And then all this plankton bloom appears, and that's food for fish. And then all these fish appear, and you get these massive blooms of salmon off the northwest coast of the U.S. They did it a few years ago. People are like, oh, we got to hold back on this technology because it might damage the environment. Dude, iron fertilization is the key. And you can see the river of blood in Antarctica is the earth naturally fertilizing the ocean with it's a river of iron. It's this blood red river just flowing in.
I remember looking into this. You're right.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
You can see a glacier, it'll break, and then red water, because iron rich pours
it's
in the water.
preparing for the flood because we're about to exit the ice age. And so it's
He just
getting
gave me a really good idea. Imagine this. There's this big cylindrical tube, big tube, and then it goes up to a gigantic, what do you call it? What is it called when you make those little terrariums that are self-sustaining?
I know what you're talking about.
Ecosystem.
Yeah, like a closed
Like
ecosystem.
the biospheres.
Yeah,
those
something like
things?
that. But you can make your own where you get like a little jar, and then you put certain things in it and close it, and then the life will keep, because the humidity will come out, and then it'll
terrarium, yeah.
a terrarium.
Self-sustaining.
Imagine you made a self-sustaining fish tube that had everything in it so that the fish could grow, and then it absorbed enough to where you could actually, like a vending machine, go up and put in $5, and then it spits a fish out for you, and that fish just grows, and it's totally automatic, taking care of itself, and then you have fresh fish. Nobody needs to go
Fresh fish
fishing.
every
You don't got to
day.
run out of fish. Yeah, no jellyfish to worry about.
And you don't have to exert
That's a
energy
good
to
idea.
catch the fish. But it
Yeah, you
still
just
lives in
hold
its
the
wild
bag up, and then it
environment.
sprays the fish, and then you bring it home, and then you cut it and you eat it. Boom.
So cool.
We could streamline this whole farming
could
process.
You could try.
As long as they're not eating their own feces.
Well, it gets recycled. The plants will do it, and then the cycle
One
of
thing
life
I was
continues.
thinking, I was out of the room, but like at gas stations, I mentioned that if the power goes out, you can't pump gas.
Hmm.
Do they have them set up so that they use their own gasoline to power generators so that you can continue to pump the gas?
Every gas station. I've never seen a gas station not when their power is out. But they all have fossil fuel redundancies because that's the most essential thing that you need when the power is out. You need gas. You need to run your diesel generator. You need whatever.
See,
so I've never seen a gas station like have no power. It could have happened, but
I think one of the main reasons nuclear is illegal is not because of the danger, because batteries are dangerous. The lithium-ion batteries, you remember the note was exploding or whatever? Like those are dangerous too. If you puncture a lithium-ion battery, it's extremely dangerous.
you ever see it in water?
Oh, yeah. And the crazy thing is, this is really crazy, is you can buy lithium batteries in airports.
Yeah.
And they oxidize. When you expose lithium to air, it starts getting hot. You put water on it, it bursts into flames.
Exactly.
It bursts into flames.
Put it on a plane.
But that's why they give you warnings. When you're going
Yeah.
on planes, you can't bring lithium batteries in. So I think the issue is you got people like Bill Gates. Bill Gates is Luke, how would you describe the moral?
A very blossom, big man.
Buxom.
I was going to say
very-
how would you judge him morally? How would you describe him morally?
Mordor?
Mordor.
That's one way.
So you got people like him. Here's the problem. We've got fusion breakthroughs, ignition, right? An ignition was reached.
Yeah.
Basically, this means we're going to have extremely cheap and abundant energy if we get this process streamlined. Because, petroleum is extremely energy dense. Nuclear is extremely energy dense, and fusion is even better. But that's bad news. You know why? For Bill Gates. Because cheap, free energy means cheap, free food. It means humans are going to be able to populate, expand dramatically because energy is being provided extremely cheaply. Here's how it started. Back in the early days of humanity, Energy was human energy. You would eat stuff and then you would do stuff. And it was extremely difficult. Then one day some dude was like, I don't want to carry these logs. Yo, that big critter right there, I'm going to tie him up and make him do it. They just eat grass all day. So then we used animals and converted, we used animals convert food into, to move things, convert our energy. Then we discovered we could burn stuff, wood. We would use wood for fuel, then coal burned better, then petroleum. Now we got nuclear, now we got fusion. All of these are dramatic escalations in our energy output minus energy cost. So it's way more difficult to cut a tree down and then use the tree for fuel. Once you get fusion going, you got crazy clean energy for a long time.
Yeah.
People are going to use it to power machines. They're going to use it to make food. They're going to have tons and tons of babies. And then we're going to have too many people for Bill Gates.
Well, they're all big population control freaks. It's a huge part of the agenda, no doubt. But there was on Twitter earlier today, I would love to show you and pull up the chart, but it was the world population of the world from basically as early as records go. And you see the spike at around 1880, and we started drilling our first wells in 1880. And you see the population, and it's not a curve. It is just an absolute. It's flat, and then it explodes, and it explodes because of fossil fuels. And if you are petrified of that, and the people who hate that, the people who hate population, who want population control, they don't consider themselves to be the peasants. They consider themselves to be the aristocracy. And before then, what was there? There were the super rich, and everyone else served them. And they want to go back to that. I honestly believe that. They don't want a middle class that's arguing and in their way. They want poor people who serve, and they want there it is. There's the chart. Thank you, Tim.
Look at how crazy
Look at the population from literally the first commercial oil well was 1888, I believe.
But just look how from like 700 to 1800, the population barely grows.
It's everyone who wants reduced population considers themselves the aristocracy. Just the way I always say, like when Bernie Sanders says he wants to, be a socialist, it's like, well, because you see yourself as the party elite. You don't see yourself as the peasant. You see yourself as the ruler.
What? Also, the U.S. barely grows.
What's causing this dip? Now there's a dip in
This is the projection.
Bill
Gates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
You think I'm kidding? The dude gives TED Talks about how we need to have slower. This is what people need to understand.
Africa. He said Africa. He said Africa needs to control their population.
If you say that Bill Gates wants to reduce the population, they will tell you you're a conspiracy theorist and wrong. What Bill Gates has said, fact check, is that we want to slow population growth. It's like, oh, okay. So what happens if you slow population growth? The older population dies, there's less younger people, and you see this chart. The populations will decrease because generation X, for instance, is larger than the millennial generation. Well, I think millennials are larger than the Gen X generation. But we're getting to the point now where the generations are going to become even. Then with slower population growth, you will come a point to where the older generation dies in large numbers just due to age. And then the next generation is smaller and population declines.
We'll see this in China after the result of their one-child policy. It's going to take a little while still, but eventually their numbers they're plateauing right now, but their numbers will start to dip dramatically.
Absolutely. And if you look at the projections worldwide, population is going to go down dramatically to the point where we are going to be facing a civilization crash that's going to be very severe, and something that we might even see in our lifetime, because the numbers are clear as day. The populations are going down dramatically, and we are seeing that in Japan. What's happening in Japan is going to hit the rest of the Western world in a very severe way. That's going to have some very negative consequences.
Are they just slowing their growth, or are they actually losing net numbers?
Losing, absolutely losing. They sell more adult diapers now in Japan than they do baby diapers. So
yeah, you can tell that 60 Minutes thing was geared towards 75-year-olds. There's like an old segment, dude. When I looked at this dip, I thought, okay, what would cause a dip like that? Starvation and war. But then I realized, no, those are the people that are going to Mars. They're just doing Earth's population.
No.
That's what that dip is. Those are colonists that leave.
Well, there's a natural progression that many scientists are saying this will just naturally happen on its own. The population will peak and then decline naturally. But now, with so many external factors, with so many choices when it comes to what's happening in our society, in our culture, with our diet, that number is going to be even far worse off. As, of course, there's propaganda on the corporate media telling people, don't have children. It's really bad for you. It's bad for the environment. And people are listening to that and deciding not to have children, which is one of the best gifts that you could have on the face of this world. So, and again, it's absolutely mind-boggling to see this unfold right in front of us, and the population is extremely declining in very dangerous ways.
Which is why the good people need to have children. Good people need to have children. Every time I see the lunatic liberal couple who's like, for the sake of the climate, we're not going to have children, I'm like, good. I don't want you yahoos to reproduce anyway. So I think you're doing us all a service. So, but those people who are good, as one of them is at the head of the table, should have as many kids as possible. Because the good people should reproduce.
Are you going to have kids? I saw you tweeted out that you were like, saw some abused kid and you were like, I can't take this anymore.
That made me so angry.
What was that tweet? Do you remember what tweet
I was on an airplane and this, I hate to say anyone is trailer trash, but trailer trash mom. And you know, I got a lot of flack for it. People are like, you don't know her backstory, but like, you can't talk to a 2-year-old like that. This was not like, oh my God, you're driving me crazy. This was, and I can't say the words because we're on YouTube, but to a 2-year-old.
It was her own kid.
Her own kid. Because she had another one in her arm and she was saying how much she doesn't like them. And then when the kid was finally crying, she just laid into him. And I was like, oh God. And so we can't have kids biologically. I think
that you know
obvious.
of. I don't know. Is that confirmed?
But you know,
that's a bigoted point of view. I'm sorry.
So we're probably trying to adopt, and I keep putting out feelers for like, if you have a kid and you know you're a pro-life mom, if you're a pro-life mom and you're like, I got pregnant, but it's a mistake, and I'm in high school. Mom, Daniel Turner PTF on Twitter. We'll pay for everything, and we'll get to keep the baby though. There you go. So
I do like babies.
Good people should have babies, even if they are of this. You know, I understand people's but they should have babies.
And I hear you're going to be feeding the baby fine steaks, fine tenderloin,
and a lot of lamb. We haven't talked about the lamb.
How's the lamb?
Yeah, how's the lamb?
We have so many lamb, and the population just grows and grows and grows.
Can
like
we eat
all
one?
animals.
Can we have one?
I will bring you one.
Wait, can we keep one to like own?
Pet.
Wait, if you give us 2. Then, like, in a few years, we'll have a ton of lamb.
Yes, but you just can't like have them. I mean, you can if you're going to eat them, but they really shouldn't inbreed too much. So we can sell you a boy and a girl who are not related, and you can eat all of their kids, but then save the girls, and then you swap out the ram for another one, and then get the daughters pregnant.
What happens if you
swap out the ram? You can do it one generation. You're not really supposed to. Just like, you know, you always need new bloodlines.
Yeah.
You know. Even with chickens to a certain extent, like not the eggs is fine, but if you're actually growing your chicken population, you shouldn't have like roosters mate with their own. That's not good for them.
One of our chickens went broody, and it's only like 7 months.
Isn't that the best?
To stop it.
When they go broody, how they pancake.
Yeah,
they just
Poofy.
it's like, how did you get so fat? And they just I love when they go broody.
What do you do for the lamb when you're ready to eat them?
It depends upon weight, how get them to the right weight, and then it's kind of sad because they know us so well and they're so sweet, and they are sheep. There's a reason why we call them sheep, and you just wave the little grain bucket and they get on the back of the trailer and they eat, and you just close the door and then drive them to the slaughterhouse.
What do you like? Put a bolt in the back of the head or something?
Yeah.
No, I don't actually. I bring them to a place that does it. A butcher, abattoir. I think is the proper fancy word, but we use a very good humane one, and you pay a little more for it, and it's fine.
Do they march them down and then put a bolt in their head?
I don't watch that part.
What they do is they lock the sheep in a room and chain their legs up, and then psychologically terrorize
Make them watch Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
that movie's brutal.
Unnecessarily cruel to the sheep.
Terrible.
What do? They do a bolt to the head, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the good ones do it with that, that the other sheep aren't there, so like you don't see your brother get, but I understand sometimes you have to. We do have to feed a big population. You want to do the most humane way.
I think we're best off trying to get as much food as possible from ourselves.
Absolutely.
From the work we do,
But geez, anyone that has a reaction of thinking putting a bolt in the back of a sheep's head is like, dude, do you eat meat?
Yeah.
Well, then get over it.
Yeah, you should know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to start cycling the chickens at some point. The roosters got to go. But, we got to eat the roosters. There's too many of them. Roberto is safe. Roberto is he's a good dude.
Protected class.
They're all his kids. He has too many. So he's going to retire into old age and live a good rooster life. He's actually really small. When he was the only rooster, he was big to us. And then once his kids grew up, we went, whoa, the dude must have been a runt. They thought he was a girl.
Yeah.
We got some Jersey Giants, by the way. We bought 4. Turns out one of them, I think, is a boy.
Well, I just think it's great that you went to the Frederick County Fair and looked at the chickens and didn't tell anyone that your chickens have been on billboards in Times Square.
Oh, my chickens are way cooler. It's so cute. They're putting their little chickens in a cage so we can come see them. My chicken was seen by like 3.5 million people, I think, per week. That's right.
Which is
Roberto
hysterical.
Jr.
Do you trade chickens with other chicken farmers?
I don't, but you do, right?
Yeah, and you can usually, and this is where, social media groups can be really helpful. So farmers are the most cooperative people in the world. They're the original socialists, but the good socialists, right? They do swap and change. And if I have a ram and you have a ram, we need to change the bloodline. A lot of times it's just if it's the same breed.
Do you need to do like blood work on them, make sure they don't have diseases and stuff before they get traded around? Is that normal?
Sometimes people do a whole bunch of testing like that. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I've gone to people's farms for sale that I can just tell in a couple seconds. And there are lots of things you can look at. You can look at their eyes. You can hear their breathing. You can see their weight. But you can see in a person's farm within 5 seconds if their farm is good or not.
We have two barred Plymouth Rock chickens, Vanessa and Dorothy. Vanessa's got a furrowed brow. She always looks really angry. Dorothy's eyes are big and round, and she always looks kind of doofy. And then we have a bunch of these rooster boys that came from these two hens, and you can tell which one was the mom.
Isn't it
because
great?
they have the same
That's
eyes.
funny.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of the boys are walking around with furrowed brows, all angry, and they're like yelling, and they're really aggressive. And then the other ones are like they're much more docile, and their eyes are big and round, and they're like walking around all doofy like.
I love how they all have different personalities.
Yeah.
They are. Every chicken does have a different personality.
I wanna eat 'em.
And they're pretty funny.
But my brother doesn't want to eat them. He wants nature. He wants to let them fend for themselves.
Do you have you ever processed?
Nope.
We can come do that with you if you want. It's
Well,
a little gross. It's
hard.
Our layers are still
it's
laying.
gross, but you got to do
Hard
it.
work.
Yeah.
You cut their head off and then pull their feathers out?
Yep.
Well, you put
Yeah,
them in. There's a big cylinder. The thing that defeathers them. It spins them around.
Oh, we do it by hand.
Oh, by hand.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a machine I saw. It steam blasts them and then spins them around. It rips all the feathers out, and then you just pick it right out.
Yeah.
But the chickens, the hens, they're still laying. So
Hold
yeah,
on.
you got to keep them. And then what? By the time they stop laying, though, it's like not as good, right?
And eggs are the greatest things. I love eggs. I could eat eggs all the time. And,
I
we're
love
getting
making
20 eggs
eggs
per
are
day.
great.
A
That's
little
a lot. That's
vinegar
great.
and a little cream, salt. What else you put in there? Oregano.
Yeah. You mentioned raw milk earlier, and I was surprised that you did because it's highly illegal, right? The way the government cracks down on raw milk fascinates me. But
It's absolutely nonsensical.
It's insane.
Yep.
It's insane.
Well, same
I mean,
with, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but like with collecting your own rainwater, but continue. Is it because they're afraid of disease?
I don't
No,
understand what the crackdown on raw milk is.
It makes absolutely no sense at all.
The rainwater thing is typically in more denser areas.
They just don't want it to fester bacteria in stagnant water.
They don't want it to. I forgot what it was, but I was talking to a guy in the suburbs of Jersey, and he mentioned that if everybody was collecting it, it would like limit runoff or something like that. And then I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's not necessarily about stopping you from having your own water to drink. It's about pollution and stuff. Maybe something like what you were saying. We gotta go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. We've got a members only show coming up at 11 p.m. It's an update on a story about, we're going to talk about this teacher who has large, oversized novelty adult toys.
Are they
Yes.
related to Bill Gates?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but we'll talk about that and what it means. But we're going to read your super chats now. Grofty says, Bocus, a fine actor, was snubbed. Only one line, just saying. I was actually really impressed by that.
Scandal.
In the episode last week, when I think Charles picks up Bocus, he yells.
Yeah.
And so we have it on camera, him going, like
quite
he's being
good.
picked away. Yeah, it was an excellent performance. Bocus, he did a
I was
great
telling him
job
what a
there.
great actor he is.
Tubin B. Lubin says, good name. I don't think Joe Biden lied about Taiwan. My friends who are MP and Air Force are being deployed in less than 2 weeks. Whoa, what's happening in 2 weeks?
Oh God,
Oh, boy.
great.
Right before a midterm, huh?
Wait, buy Raytheon stocks. Everyone buy Northrop Grumman.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think he was lying either.
Biden has a statement. I was watching an old interview where he says a president's approval rating goes up during a crisis. And then in this interview, he's like, your approval rating, Scott Pelley's like, is below 50%. If they're being deployed in 2 weeks, that's literally right before the midterms.
What's crazy is if two governments get together, like Xi Jinping and Joe Biden, they're like, we both need to drum up some support. Let's
Yeah.
create a fake conflict
Yep.
so that everyone supports us.
So was that when Biden said, "Watch what I'll do"? When
When?
did he? What context did he say that?
I don't know.
That was during the 60 Minutes interview.
The one out, oh, really?
Yeah, I thought so.
The one about when they were like, what if Russia deployed nuclear weapons? He'd be like, the rain of hell God would come down upon them. He said something like that. He didn't use cool words like that, but it was like, we will annihilate everything if they do that.
All right,
He was
Nylan,
real dark.
Nylan Hinnick says, I have to wear collared shirts at work. Can Timcast and We Are Change produce collared shirts so we can look good at work and support you at the same time?
Oh,
Sure, why not?
Well, Luke's the more of the t-shirt guy than me.
I'll look into it.
All right. Leaf Hagen says, any updates on reviewing the Freedom Phone, or are you guys scrapping that one. Saw Candace Owens peddling them a few days ago.
Oh, cool.
We never got it.
Yeah,
it was just
we had
overloaded.
orders issuing
Backlog,
it,
yeah.
or issues
So,
ordering it rather. And then
The issue is this: we can't get orders from them because if we're going to review them, we can't have taken special. They could tamper with them. Not saying they would, but that's why it's not legitimate. And then because we're going to do a security review, not just like a function review. And then the issue was to buy it, it would have to be bought through like an individual that they wouldn't know, but it was backed up like crazy.
It was just, and it was giving me errors. It was returning errors on the website when I was trying to buy them. We tried for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it just lost the trail.
Mike Hillier says, Ian, you have to take this opportunity Luke is giving you. I wish I had a workout friend. You will enjoy the benefits.
That's true.
Yeah, Ian.
It's true, but other people are like, don't do it if you don't want to do it. Like, don't let yourself get coerced into working out because you think it'll be cool.
What?
But I agree. I want to.
What kind of rationale is
was
that?
that?
What
Who
is
told you that?
Are you just did a Joe Biden? What, Ian?
Everyone should work out. Everyone.
friend.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yes.
I do isometrics. Like I do planks and
Sounds like a
push-ups and
scam.
stuff.
sounds
I don't
like a
do heavy
scam.
weight training, although I have been working with the kettlebell a little bit lately. I'm into the kick. I mean, I'm into the
Soldier fit.
Yeah, I'm into soldier fit.
Because
on
that's going to
Friday.
be a lot of that stuff, and it's going to be just like good regular working out.
I like that cardio.
Yeah,
weight
agility training.
Yeah.
All right, Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, I failed. I did the gas station thing, talked to some good peeps, but registered 0. I'm optimistic, though. Why, you ask? Watch me. Long pause. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. You did not fail, sir. You did not fail. You went out and you talked to people, and that's the first and most important step. When I used to work for nonprofits, they would say outright, the most important thing you can do is talk to people. You are spreading those ideas. You are explaining it. It will be in their mind, whether they're passionate about it or not. The first step is letting them know about it. There you go, man. Mm-hmm. Shooting on a shop at a pressure. Batacaf Care says, tag team YouTube and Twitter about the notification problem. Tag them. It helps when they get enough people tagging them. Okay, everybody. You can try and tag at Team YouTube, I guess. Oh, tag Team YouTube.
Oh.
I thought you said tag Team YouTube.
Oh.
Like team up together against them.
Yeah.
I noticed when I go to YouTube, I see the video in the queue, 7:50 p.m. There's a button that says notify me when this goes live. It's not the bell button. It's not the subscribe. I have to go in and click it. But if I don't do that, am I going to get I don't think I'm going to get a notification for it. But if it's not like in the holding pattern until 10 minutes before the show, how do people click the notify me now?
Here's what I want to say. Over the past week, people weren't getting notifications. I don't know why. Our video views on the clips were up like 30 to 40%. Way up. So our metrics were really high. On the live show, however, the metrics were slightly down. And people weren't getting notified about it. So this is why I can't stand about YouTube is if they don't explain to you the algorithm because their fear of people will exploit it, then you try to say, like, right now they're saying shorts is a big thing. Like, you should do shorts. We really want to promote it. And I'm like, every time YouTube's ever come to me and said, hey, I remember when premieres came out. Why don't you premiere some of these clips? And I said, no, because you will punish my channel. Well, what do you mean? If we do premieres, we're going to change everything, disrupt our audience, and then your algorithm is going to punish our channel and reduce visibility because of something you changed. And then to go, oh, well, I don't think that'll happen. And then I was like, so what happens if people don't react positively to premieres, watch them less, or don't like jumping into the middle of the video so they don't watch it at all? Now our retention goes way down, and they're like, yeah, that would hurt your channel, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not using your new weird things and hurting and confusing my audience and making everything worse for me. All right, Daniel Nemes says, my wife is a nurse. She's looking for a new job. 95% of the places she is looking at require the jab. When the efficacy is next to nothing now, Biden announces the pandemic is over. Come on, Luke. Joe Figueroa says, Tim has to be a Bills fan. What's the Bills?
Buffalo Bills?
Buffalo Bills, was that football?
Football?
Yeah.
Is that football?
That's where Drew Bledsoe
Is that-
got his
yeah?
wings.
I don't know anything about football.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
Ask me about skateboarding. I can explain to you what a switch stance, backside tail slide, big flip out is, but I wouldn't begin to explain the line of scrimmage. That's a thing, right?
Yes,
That
it
is, yeah.
That
yeah.
sounded.
It's where it
that
all
was
begins.
Very
When-
football-y.
When I was a kid, my friend was explaining the rules and he said that. I laughed. I said, you're making that up. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, you just made up a gibberish word. That's not real. A line of scrimmage. I was like, get out of here with this. And then I was skateboarding. Well, all right.
I feel
Wrath
so
of-
butch all of a sudden. Wow. It's like, holy cow.
Wrath of Paul says, I don't think it's a coincidence that Biden declares the pandemic over 6 weeks before a big midterm election. Yo, if people are really deploying out to the Pacific Theater
Fast.
right before the midterms, I would not be surprised. You make a good point. She hates Trump. He doesn't like him. He didn't like what, Biden is good for Trump. So if they came together and said, we don't
Biden's
want...
good for she.
Biden's good for she. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Biden's good for she and she is good for Biden.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, we're going to have a little skirmish here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And she is jockeying for re-election again. You're not supposed to be a premier a third term, but he wants lifetime premiership. And so the Politburo, the Central Committee, et cetera, has to vote him in. And so he is doing a lot of things right now because he wants to stay in power.
It's going to happen, isn't it?
So she's saying to Biden, you help me, I help you, everyone's happy. Makes perfect sense.
Biden's just like, come on, man, just drop a few bombs, huh? And we'll come in, we'll sweep it up. You'll look strong. We'll get the votes. Maybe, but that would be a conspiracy, and we know those things don't happen.
No.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Johnny Derp says, Ian dismissed obesity as a cause of death because it is a comorbidity. Can anyone else think of an illness, achoo, which itself was a comorbidity? Or I think with COVID, it was like 90 some odd % of people who had COVID and died had a comorbidity. Yeah.
Like 5 comorbidities, I think.
There you go.
Or there's a large percentage of people that had like 5 comorbidities or more.
Ola Schoberg, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Schoberg, for the Friday show. That was a good one. That was Dr. Drew, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Drew
That was fun.
Pinsky.
Yeah.
He was great.
Drew.
We went and we played some blackjack afterwards. That was fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, this is a great story. So we went to the casino right after the show, and we're playing blackjack. And there's this guy. He's standing up and playing, and then he looks over and he goes, "You look just like Anderson Cooper." And then he's like, "Yeah, I've heard that." And then the guy's like, the guy at the table looks around and he goes, "That's Anderson Cooper, isn't it?" And then I look at him like, "That is not Anderson Cooper." And he goes,
That's Anderson Cooper. I
and
know
then-
it is.
But then he keeps playing. And then, maybe like 20 minutes of playing, Drew's like, all right, I'm going to get out of here, guys. It's been a blast. Thanks for having me. And he gets him and walks away. And the guy goes, that was Anderson Cooper. And I was like, no, it wasn't.
No.
It was Dr. Drew. And he goes, who? And then the lady to his right, she goes, from MTV. And she goes, Loveline. He was, I knew that guy.
It
That was
wasn't
funny.
Anderson Cooper, though.
It wasn't
great.
Anderson Cooper, though. I was like, Anderson Cooper has like a longer head.
Anderson Cooper.
A longer head,
Yeah.
Miss Mary says, FYI, no notification received, nothing in my recommended either. I had to type in Timcast IRL in the search bar and find you to listen to you. That's crazy. But you know what? This is the power of when you have a show people really do want to watch, they will try to suppress it. Our metrics are behaving weirdly. I don't want to say they're down, but they're just behaving weirdly. Like one thing I'm noticing, and people watching might notice this, it'll be like 35K viewers, spike to 40, and then 10 minutes later, drop back down to 35, which makes no sense that 5K people all at the same time just decided to leave. Like something weird's going on. People are not getting notifications. So I'll tell you this, if you want to support the show, be the notifications.
That's right.
You guys can share the video. For those that are big fans that watch every episode, whenever the show starts, take the URL and just share it. Then that's more powerful than notifications. What Mary's saying here is that she searched for the show and then came to find it. That's basically giving old bop to the head of YouTube, being like, even when you suppress us, people still come to watch the show. You can't do nothing about it. But we are doing our best. If you go to timcast.com, the live player is on the front page now, and we're trying to find ways so that people who actually are fans of the show will keep watching it regardless of the algorithms in the machine. All right, what is this? RC Jim R. Not financial advice. Good graphene stocks, Ian. I have a graphene stock.
You got a few.
think it's
There's a
called
company
Cabot.
I'm working with, Ecofine. I would highly recommend checking these guys out. They're studying pulling carbon dioxide out of the air and converting it into graphene. That's going to be the future of making it, or one of the futures.
Big 12 Sports says, why exactly does Tim want us to smash a butt no? And secondly, what's a butt no? It's a typo. I wrote smash the like button, but an O went up, so smash the like button no. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash the like button no?
Yes.
The butt no. And then I saw it after it went up, and I was like, it is kind of funny. So you know what? We'll let it go. All right. Roscoe P says Dairy Queen chicken strip basket, 4 or 6 piece.
Oh.
What do you think? 6 pieces
Of chicken?
chicken tenders?
I opt for more because you can just store it and eat it later. Is that the question?
Chicken is the best. I eat nothing but chicken.
I don't like those boneless ones.
Steak over
though.
chicken any day.
Is it true that boneless chicken is all genetically modified to grow like in a vat without, or just to grow without bones? So they have these like deformed chickens that they just harvest.
What are those big
Boneless
mutant
chicken?
chickens?
No, they
Have
just,
you ever gone to a restaurant? Actually, you've been to KFC.
Yeah.
Those drumsticks are insane. Like, what does that come from? When I first got chickens, I was like, there's no way that thing came from that thing.
Yeah.
So they have like the big mutant chickens, I guess.
Yeah, they're
Probably.
genetically modifying chickens and messing with their DNA so they're fatter quicker.
Yeah.
And they have
But
more heart
bigger.
attacks and bigger, and they grow a lot faster than they usually did, and they're a lot bigger, and they're genetically not the same thing that they were a couple decades
And
ago.
all of our chickens look like shop teachers from Canada.
Yes.
What if?
Right, they
That's
have,
true.
yes.
Absolutely.
What if they genetically modified chicken DNA to make a big hunk of breast and dark meat with like no central nervous system, just a respiratory system?
Poor critter.
So, but it's not even just no brain. What if we genetically engineered it and just
Horrible.
grows the meat?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd rather take
We're not
stem
far away
cell
from that.
meat than
I know.
genetically modified chickens.
No, but I think we're closer to plugging into the Neuralink metaverse and then getting fed a tube of weird soy proteins.
But thinking it's chicken, like
Yeah.
tasting chicken and
Matrix.
seeing chicken while you're eating it.
Think about it this way: they could they could feed you nothing but cricket paste, but you plug in the Neuralink and then you see filet mignon. And when you're cutting it and eating it, it tastes like it, but you're actually eating cricket paste.
That's a bright future to look forward to.
Exciting.
I mean, I gotta be honest. It is creepy, but imagine if you could plug in a Neuralink and then modify your food to be like Gordon Ramsay, elite 5-star, delicious, perfect every time, and you're eating Soylent cubes.
We'll just put it on our metaverse thing and pretend we're not in this world and look at our metaverse hands and it's like, oh, look, I'm eating a steak and you're really just eating cricket.
But look, yes, but what was the guy's name? Cypher in the Matrix, the bad guy.
yeah.
He made a point.
Joey Pants.
He's in the Matrix and he's eating a delicious piece of steak.
Looks
In the
great.
real world, it's white paste. Which would you rather do?
I'd rather eat something healthy that tastes terrible but think it's good than eat something unhealthy that tastes good.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we're probably never going to have that weird chicken monster because we're going to get rid of all of this and everyone's going to eat cricket protein paste. It's going to come in cubes, but all it's going to happen is you're going to put on some wireless brain modification thing. And it's like, what do you want to eat today? And the wife's going to like spatula the cubes on the plate. And then the kid's going to be like, I want pizza and birthday cake. And you're like, whatever you want. And it goes beep. And then it turns into pizza, birthday cake, mashed and whatever nonsense. And the husband is like, I believe I'll have fresh halibut. And then he beep. And then there you go.
They were working
Everybody's
with
eating whatever they want.
Well, the crickets aren't
Smell-o-vision.
that nutritious. They're not that good for you. There's a lot of health
That's true.
consequences to that as well.
And
Terrible.
someone's going to
Freon.
come to the cricket's defense. Eventually, there's going to be like people united for the protection of crickets. Like
Correct.
there's no way they're going to allow us to create all these crickets and kill them. Someone will come to the cricket party, the cricket,
Festival.
yeah.
All right. Ready to Rumble says, I'm pretty fly for an old guy. Joe Biden.
That's right.
I think that's what I was
That's where I was going.
That's what I was.
The song was
thinking.
hot in 1992. That's Right Said Fred, by the way. Oh, no, that's I'm Too Sexy.
Yeah.
Pretty fly for a white
That's
guy's
Offspring.
offspring.
Yeah, it's
Zach Williams says, I no longer think of being as old as myself than a fly, is what I think he meant, due to flies not thinking about how old they are.
possible.
You see, that's I was thinking that at first, like, what does a fly do? Is there an idiom? Look, a lot of people mocked the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and that's actually the original idiom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a
It
lot
is
of people
old.
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because we don't say that because, younger people just say the proof is in the pudding.
It's because you're stupid.
Yeah.
That's because all young people are stupid.
Remember when Joe Biden said he's been in office, 720 years or
Yes.
whatever?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Remember when he
Wow.
had cancer?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
he
heard
told
about
us
that.
80% of his friends did as well.
That's true,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when he
man,
got
that was
arrested
crazy.
freeing Nelson Mandela?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Remember when he said "end of quote"? Repeat the line.
Yes.
Remember when he cured cancer?
Yes. Amazing.
OMG Puppy says the Soviets built a nuclear turbojet engine that flew a plane for several days without landing.
Really? Wow.
I mean, if you think about it, like the nuclear material just gets hot. It'll boil water for a long time. So what do you really need?
Yeah, I didn't know the Soviets did it. That's awesome.
I know that, nuclear material will boil water. That's how they do nuclear power, nuclear turbines and everything. They spin them. But I'm wondering, like, do you know how a nuclear submarine generates power? I wouldn't. It's probably steam and a turbine.
I
right?
think it literally does the exact same thing as a
Yeah.
diesel engine would do, but rather than burning diesel, it creates heat from the nuclear reactor.
But it would need to it would expand water, right? So like diesel explodes, so the expansion can cause.
We got the General Electric J87 nuclear-powered turbojet engine, the Aircraft Nuclear Propulsion Program, and preceding nuclear energy for the propulsion of aircraft project were developed in 1946 by the Air Force, the United States Air Force. So if that's what,
Wow.
70 years ago almost, I can't imagine that they don't have that technology available for modern cars.
I mean, all of our planes should be using that. Everything should be using
I guess
them.
the problem is if it gets shot down, they don't want the enemy to get the nuclear generator and then reverse engineer the plans or something. That's the idea.
Maybe.
John Gagner says that's literally an episode of China, Illinois. The hog episode is so hilarious. Well, we just came up with an original idea to do a horror movie about pigs.
That's right.
So. The pigs cometh.
The pigs.
I'm thinking about
there'll
that
be like
Winnie
a
the
Ford-
Pooh. Did you see the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
Yeah.
Piglet.
Their tusks are vicious. You get those feral pigs with the tusks, you could have some really gory scenes.
People die all the time from
Here
it.
we go. Stronger Than Stone says a sheriff in Texas opened an investigation into Ron DeSantis for the Martha's Vineyard thing today. Just proves there's a civil war. Yeah, and also Ron DeSantis got a standing ovation over the Martha's Vineyard thing.
Broke fundraising records.
He raised like 177 million, I think. So I think dude's gonna run for president.
You should.
I mean, the Martha's Vineyard thing. I just really I see a lot in DeSantis that he's done so much better than Trump has, especially the Martha's Vineyard thing. I think he should immediately do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Do more. All right, let's see what we got here. Katie Jinks says, since Dan is here, I want to comment that the nation's largest nuclear power plant is in the middle of the Arizona desert. States like California have no excuse. Yeah, put it in the middle of the desert. Put it in a mountain or something, you know?
Put it in your back. Everyone should have one. We should be building nuclear power plants left and right. Instead, we gave $80 billion to Ukraine.
So your company, Power for the Future, you're more interested in just literally creating sustainable power than you are in one in particular?
We're about protecting American energy independence. So it's primarily fossil fuels. I got nothing wrong with nuclear, but just the conversation we were having earlier, the fossil fuels run our country. They run our freedom, really. And the more we get rid of them because we're going to, quote unquote, go green, the more we're surrendering our agency. And we're surrendering it to the government or we're surrendering it to China. Fossil fuels are pure freedom. And that's what we advocate for.
All right. Publius Valerius Publicola says, fusion is never going to work. I don't like Bill Gates. He has a reactor design that consumes nuclear fuel waste. Of course, he is withholding it till the economy is crippled solely for profit.
Well, he's working with China on that specific project, and he had to move it because of, I forgot the exact reason as well, but he's doing a lot of research and development with the Chinese government, which should concern a lot of people because, again, the technology is going to be in their hands, and they're going to use it for their own political purposes.
This company called TerraPower, American Nuclear Reactor Design and Development Engineering Company in Bellevue, Washington. Bill Gates' home state. I believe he's from Washington.
This is an important one. Hal Edwards says white-tailed deer are rats with hooves.
Something like that.
Do they have hooves? They have something else, though, don't they? It's like a hoof, but it's like kind of different.
They're just not
Isn't it?
cloven, I think.
They're not what?
Cloven? Like cows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They have hooves, though.
We have a family of deer that live right in front of the house, and they're always coming out trespassing and eating my plants.
They eat everything. Yeah.
And I yell at them and shake my fist, and they just stare at me and keep eating. We were on the 4th of July. A family of deer came out on Freedomistan and just watched and ate as things were blowing up. They did not care at all. But recently, sad story, Bambi died.
How?
Don't know, but one day we came home and there were like 50 vultures all over the property.
Oh.
Big ones, just everywhere. And then I saw where they were hanging out, cruised over on my little bike, and sure enough, there was a baby deer that had died.
Oh.
Don't know exactly how, but they annihilated that thing and now it's gone.
My drive home takes twice as long than my drive here because it's dark when I leave,
Deer
and
time.
it's just deer dodging. It's just nonstop. It's all back
yeah, yeah.
roads, and it's just nonstop deer. And when it's raining, it's worse because
gosh.
you get all the possums. It's like a video game, just dodging
crazy. I know.
creatures.
Or you
So
just hit them with a
annoying.
flying
It might say 35 miles an hour. You go 20. Go
Yeah.
50.
When I-
do whatever you need.
It depends
to
how fast
survive.
you're going, but you're not supposed to dodge them.
When I
Which
when
is
I
slow
leave
down
here,
and wait.
Like I will dodge. I won't go into like traffic. Don't get me wrong. I'll just go. Yeah.
when I leave here after the show every night, there's just like 7 or 8 deer, just like everywhere,
Yeah.
all over the property, and they just stare at you because they're really dumb.
And it cracks me up that we have
gotta
like
shake
deer
your fist at 'em.
hunting season. You should be able to hunt deer all the damn time. We
Anytime.
You know-
have
you know
so
what-
many deer.
I'm wondering, can we train them though? Like, can you train the deer? Because I'm wondering if we can get them to do something functional for us.
That'd
You
be
know, like if we can train them, I'm thinking we can tie them up, and then have them spin a turbine for us.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You know.
sure. That's the original power as well, right?
How can we get our deer to generate energy for us as they mill about and do nothing but eat and
It's
crap?
a great question.
You know,
I looked up, can you train deer? And it just keeps saying, can you train a dog to track deer? Can you train a dog?
I got
Can
it.
you train a dog?
They're
to
pretty
track-
delicious.
a treadmill.
Hamster wheel. Lock them in.
Yeah, but as they walk, food slowly comes out, and so we just need the cost of energy they generate to be more valuable than the cost of the food we give them, and I think we can do it.
We got
Yeah.
this.
You've got to withhold the food so that they're constantly trying to get it.
But they have
that
to
they're-
eventually
See, I'm thinking
get
like
it,
a World
otherwise it's-
Economic Forum agent. And they never actually get the food.
Stop it, Ian.
Oh,
no.
All right, here's an important one. It's Justin Amy says, unless they change copyright laws again, Mickey Mouse character will be public domain in 2024. Disney lobbied to change the copyright laws to the current law last time Mickey Mouse, the Pig Slayer. What is the Pig Slayer?
Oh, so he'd be the hero. He'd be the protagonist in the movie, the swine. Cometh
All
or
I know
whatever you're calling
is
it.
if Mickey Mouse goes public domain, yo, it's going to be lit. I'm going to make crazy Mickey stuff. Anime Mickey, drug dealer Mickey,
Oh my gosh.
Breaking Bad Mickey.
How did South Park get away with all their Mickey Mouse
Parody.
episodes?
You're allowed to satirize
You're
it.
allowed to satirize
Yeah,
it.
so it's like
Okay.
the only thing that changed is that you're allowed to make legitimate standard Mickey Mouse stuff.
Okay.
So you could actually just make, Steamboat Mickey, and it's like public domain. So they can do
Their
it.
Mickey COVID episode was brilliant. Yeah, I loved it.
And I love that he was just like so hardcore pro China. He speaks Chinese
And he
with his
is.
Mickey Mouse accent. Oh, it was
Dang.
great. Just great.
All right. Tina Collette says, you are on the same time every day. I just tune in at 6 p.m. Mountain. I don't miss a show.
Nice.
And there's a but there, but I don't know. Is there something else?
When did you start doing clips? Because some people
Always.
are explaining that it's because of the clips.
We've
and-
always done clips.
Okay.
Since the show
On this
started.
channel or a separate channel?
On this channel.
No,
Okay.
not always.
Yep. Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
It was like only like
Always.
Trust me.
8 months, wasn't
I
it?
Nope,
was here.
always.
Some people are saying that YouTube gives you only 3 notifications per 24 hours and that the notifications are going out for the clips, but not the live show.
Interesting.
And that's probably true because
Yeah.
our clips have started doing way, way better.
Exactly.
So what likely happened is that
Because didn't you
Clips
have a
are too
clips
good.
channel?
I think you just
No,
figured it
here's
out.
what-
I
dude.
think some
We
people
never
have a
did.
clips
Luke,
channel.
here's what
Yeah.
changed. We didn't always put our full-length episodes up on the channel. That's the only
Wait,
thing
what?
that's changed. We did not always have our full-length episodes visible.
yeah,
on
but that was only a
YouTube.
couple of months.
Right, exactly.
They were going
That's
up
the only thing that's
unlisted
changed.
in the
Yeah.
beginning.
And then we put them on, and now we put them on a playlist.
So you
Right.
think a clips channel is better than a
Well, I know YouTube only gives you 3 notifications in 24 hours, right?
I think that's it. You just nailed it.
If there's clips or if there's other things going out to the audience, shorts or whatever, then the regular channel's not being
See, I'm telling
notified.
you, everyone's like YouTube's prioritizing shorts, and I'm like, it's probably a bad idea. So
Could be,
we
yeah.
did create a Timcast Clips channel.
Needs a new channel.
It is a new channel,
The shorts.
Timcast Clips, and it's
The
got a
shorts?
small. Timcast Clips is a new channel that's been around for like a year now, where we put clips on it. Yes.
I'm talking about like the new thing.
Right,
like the
yeah.
shorts,
And I don't even know if we should even bother with them at this point.
It's about a week old, but like you're saying, I think it's muting the notifications for people. 'cause
No,
they're
we
getting
were the
clips.
muting was happening before this, before shorts.
just for the
nothing,
clips.
nothing on
Not
our
for the
end
short. I got to use
changed.
the right words.
And I
There's
want to
clips and
clarify
shorts.
too that when this weird thing did happen, the website broke as well. So something changed on YouTube's end. Whatever. But good. If the clips go out, that's great. The clips are basically it's actually here's how it works. If we do a live show, most people who like the live show will come and watch the live show regularly. The titles of the live show are the biggest story that we have today. It's Biden declares pandemic is over in 60 minutes on 60 Minutes. There's a good amount of people that will see this and say, I don't normally watch that show, but that story is interesting, and they'll click it. In this whole show, we've talked about a variety of subjects. Some people might say, I don't care to watch the show and I don't care to learn about Biden and the pandemic. But we have a segment about the Ford truck or a Dodge truck being discontinued. That clip will likely to get clicked. So by breaking it up into clips, you have a combination of some people will watch certain clips and not the full show. And so it maximizes the amount of reach and interest and everything.
Is there a setting when you upload a video to have it not send out a notification?
Yes, but you don't want to do that.
If you just want to do 3 a day, like focus
I
on the
think
main show and 2 clips or something?
The fact that our viewership was way up, but our live viewership was slightly down, and not even slightly down. It's not even necessarily the issue. It's like all in all, it's still just good for the show. The goal is the clips will attract new audience members. The people who like the show know when to come and watch the show. So I'm not super worried about the notifications.
Moral of the story, set your own notification.
Yeah.
Be the notification.
Remind yourself, yeah.
Tell your friends, hey, are you watching Timcast IRL? The greatest show in all the
I
land.
tweet it out every day, and on Minds, I post it on Minds every day before we go live. Shout it to the wind.
All right. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com because that's where the uncensored shenanigans happens Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL and follow it everywhere. You can follow me personally at Timcast. We do have a clips channel. It's called Timcast Clips. I don't think we've ever actually shouted it out one time.
No.
So the idea was we want to use the clips on that channel to naturally find its algorithmic push. So like YouTube will be like, here's who likes this, and then it will be a separate way to find new people. Ultimately, I'll put it this way. YouTube silos you. After a certain amount of time, they say, okay, this group of people likes this channel, and that's it. So you have different channels and different promotion to try and find different areas. So follow me on Twitter at Timcast and everywhere else. And of course, I have my other channels, youtube.com/Timcast and Timcast News. Daniel, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, Daniel Turner, Power of the Future, powerofthefuture.com. Always good to be here. You can follow me, Daniel Turner, PTF, on all platforms. And as always, the shameless plug for the greatest Virginia sheep farmers, Bristol Farm, Virginia, on Instagram, Bristol Farm, Virginia. Follow your favorite
We got to swing by maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You got pumpkins or something?
No, I don't grow any. I don't grow anything, any vegetables. We just raise animals.
I don't want to hurt the innocent vegetables anyway. I want to slaughter those ransacking animals who just destroy. You know.
I've been pulling for cows on the property so much. I could buy one, but just someone here has to take care of it. But anyway, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/wearechange. You can see my adoration for cows, especially on lukeuncensored.com. I talk about them all the time. I think they're fascinating, amazing, beautiful animals. And I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
What were you going to say, Luke?
Save it for the after show.
Are you going to work out with me?
Yes. Are you going to work out with me, Ian?
I think so.
That's the question here.
I want to point you guys at my book.
There's also magical stuff from the cows.
Well, putting your finger. You want to put your finger in a cow's mouth? So
No. I'm not going
I
there.
heard that works.
Ian, I'm going down the pathway that has
the
allegedly
Brahma.
helped civilization progress.
yeah.
That's
to the poop.
Oh, because they poop and then psilocybin mushrooms
Yes,
grow in
there
the
you
feces.
go, there you
They
go.
call,
That's
I think
right.
that's part
I
of
was
why they
thinking-
revere them in India and ancient
hilarious.
culture, the Brahma.
Exactly.
Because they would eat the mushrooms, they would trip balls, they would do yoga, then they would smoke opium. They did all sorts of crazy stuff back in the day. Hey, check these out. Well, check this out. This is Klaus Schwab's book, and this
Don't
is
read
my
that
book.
one. No,
Just
read
want to
that.
show you how similar they are. Isn't that weird? But if you'd like to get deep inside my mind on your own time, check out my book. It's on Amazon, Writing in the Dark by Ian Crossland.
I'm just imagining like people are like, I really do want to understand Ian's mind, and then like they pick the book up and open the first page, and then 5 minutes later the book's at the end and their hair's on end. And it's like,
Yeah, it's an easy read. It's only like 70 pages, more of a manuscript of psychosis. So have fun with it. I love you guys. Follow me at Ian Crossland. I'll see you around.
That is quite the selling point for a book for sure. Now I wish I had a book to hawk also. You guys can follow me on Twitter, which is almost as good as books, at Sour Patch Lids, as well as minds.com, and also on sourpatchlids.me.
we will see all of you over at timcast.com in the member segment, which is going to get
Oh boy.
spicy, I guess, because this story just won't stop and it's getting crazy and there's so much going on. So smash that like button on your way out, and we'll see you all over at timcast.com in about 45 minutes.
All right, bye guys.